At last.
The king's back and the throne's mine. The future's here and it's my time. Straight shot, going for the head with it. Take his head off and say that I did it. Good riddance. Say hi to the bad guy, I'm back in business. If you took what's mine, I'm back to get it. There's nothing you can do, I'm back with vengeance. Now turn me loose. Now turn me loose.
Listen, let me mute one right now because they're roaming. All right, what's going on, everybody? And just representing for the Gray Pill Podcast. We're gonna pretty much have like a bunch of random conversations, like a chill one, and then we're just gonna spark it up from there. I appreciate you, and I swear to God, I'm gonna butcher your name, so Ruby gonna check me. Danteezy one.
Danteezy.
Okay, Danteezy one. Thank you. I think you just put it. I'm not trying to tell you how to spell your own name, brother, but
I know.
If you throw an extra E in there, I got you.
I've been telling him that for like 7 years. I've been saying the same thing, I swear. So, yeah.
What is it?
You.
It's
Danteezy.
It's spelled Dantezi.
I know. Trust me. This has been like almost a decade-long discussion, and he has like multiple accounts, like so you
that's
have
just Doc though.
and
Come on, he don't need to know that.
No, because they're under the same name, right? So he has like Danteezy and then like Danteezy one, and it's just like, so you could have spelled the second one correctly, right? Like, but like no, he refuses.
He'll figure it out one day. Shout out to you, Danteezy.
See, there you go. You're getting it. Don't read it. Just know it means Danteezy.
I'm working on it. Maribel, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on through. Cool Gamer, definitely shout out to you. Hey, Cool Gamer, let me know if you actually play games, what system and what games. Let me know. I'm very competitor on the other end. Shout out to you, Cell. Appreciate you, man. I didn't even know he was over there in Angry Man spot, Dame. Part of Benzino Nation, I believe he represent over there. But I knew him from another end of space. So I was like, all right, good to see him. So I appreciate him. All right, so if you're new, definitely hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you. Definitely hit the like and all that good stuff to help us out. So we're gonna have a random topics conversation. So I was in a lot of spaces. Hey, Nance, appreciate you. Appreciate you. If you want to stick around a little bit for the casual conversation, thank you. Let Inky know I reached out to her, so I'm just waiting for her to come on through for the conversation. I was all over these spaces, all of the spaces, East Coast, West Coast of YouTube. And I was hearing like a lot of key questions. I feel like I just need to ask, because I feel like if I talk to myself, I answer myself, I'm going crazy. So I don't want to answer myself when I talk and ask questions. So I'm just going to run one off the top of the head, because I hear about the baby mamas, right? Because we got one about relationships. Sometimes a lot of us talk about relationships, a lot of us talk about politics. So I just maybe this is a difficult one. I don't know. So around the clock, all right, what is what is a baby mama, baby daddy to you? We'll go with Ruby.
Okay.
Yes.
So to me, a baby mama or a baby daddy, this is a person that you've had a child with, but you are no longer with. So your baby mama would be someone that you had children with. You didn't marry them. Also, that's an important to note. At no point were you ever married to this person. And then now you guys have broken up, but you still have a child with that person, regardless of what stage of functionality or co-parenting you're at. The point is, this person and you share a child, but you've never been married and you're no longer together. That's what
All right, fair enough. Sandra, what's a baby mama, baby daddy?
I was just going to say baby mama, baby daddy, child born out of wedlock, pretty much. I think even if you're in a relationship with that person and they're your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and you've had kids, I mean,
It's still a baby mama, still a baby
yeah,
daddy.
I mean, whether you're together or not. So yeah.
Okay. All right, all right, all right. Wes, what's a baby mama, baby daddy?
I would call that a one night stand without a whole lot of forethought. I think that
Okay.
if you're in a long term relationship with someone and you have a child and you break up, that's your ex, ex wife or ex girlfriend. But strictly baby mama, baby dad, like you weren't really anything. You kind of said, "Oh, let's just have some fun tonight, and not worry about the consequences." And 9 months later, like, shit, what was I thinking?
All right, smart. Sound. Like some sense. Neve.
I think baby mama and baby daddy, like growing up, I just used to think they meant parents, so I didn't have any negative association with them, other than like I didn't really like hearing them personally, because like I just didn't like the way they sounded. But yeah, now I realize that it is, an association with like parents who aren't present, or generally divorces when one parent's talking about the other person. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways, but
Are you? We'll come back to that. We'll put a pin in that one. Dang, baby mama, baby daddy.
You're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, bro.
So it's
Thank
Dame,
you.
not Dame.
No, exactly. The me. So I think we've been said it kind of nailed it, but I think it's a dysfunctional relationship that culminated with a child. That's it, because I feel like the people who've had functional relationships, even if they break up, they refer to them like that's my son's father, that's my son's mother, not baby daddy, baby mama, what have you. So I think there has to be some kind of degree of dysfunction in the relationship to get to that point.
Because that's interesting. Because Wes had said something earlier. So if the two is dating, and one said, "Hey, I don't want no kids," and the other one's like, "Okay, cool," and then 3 years later, pop, they have a kid, then they broken up. Did that still consider them baby mama, baby daddy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
See, I think it depends on the people though, because to me, there's a level of respect. So especially when I hear about men talking about their baby mama, because women will say baby daddy to refer to their ex-husband. It's not as specific there. But with men, I notice that men who have respect for the mother of their children, regardless of how that child was conceived or the relationship, they say the mother of my children, and they don't want you to call her the baby mama, because that's not what it is. She's the mother of their children, and you don't bring it to that base level. So I think that it depends on the people, like the two individuals in this relationship. To what extent do they have respect for each other? To what extent do they feel like, hey, this person is a critical person in my life that I have love for, and whatever. I think all of that kind of matters.
I got to kind of disagree and push back a little bit on that, because I think if you were married to somebody, most women don't want to refer to their ex-husbands as their baby daddy, because there's a negative connotation along with baby daddy. Some women were like, no, I was married. I wasn't just letting people shoot up the club with no ring on it. I was married. He married me and we had a baby and we didn't work out. So that's my ex-husband. I was a wife. So I'm hard pressed to find anybody. Maybe it's an age thing, like I said.
It's an age thing. It actually is an age thing.
Yeah, maybe I'm hard pressed to find anybody who has
maturity
kids
level
with her.
thing.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I know everyone was talking about their age early, but I'm 30. I think I'm the baby of the group, and I've never heard of any woman refer to their ex-husband as a baby daddy.
I have,
Yeah,
and that's where I've heard it a lot. And the thing is that I agree with you, like Dane, like, because I was a little bit older. My friends were all a little bit older, so for us, there was a period of time actually when you're like 14, 15, 16, a lot of people were trying to get pregnant as teenagers, and they wanted to be a baby mama or a baby daddy. There was like an honor in it when we were a little bit younger. Weirdly, I know. Right. But then as people got a little bit older, then it was kind of like, no, you wanted to prove someone would put a ring on your finger, right? So you didn't want to be a baby mama or a baby daddy because you got the ring or you got whatever. But then it seems like then there was this I don't know, this change. I don't know, maybe it came with the sexual revolution, maybe it came with the Cardi B's of the world, I don't know, where suddenly again, it was cool almost to have a baby daddy or baby mama, it was normalized. And so you have a
damn
daddy,
Teen Mom
got an
show on MTV.
Yes. Yeah. And now there's also another show called Unexpected. So it's not just 16
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. So I think that's why I think if you look at the older generations, right? Like let's say older millennials and up, you're never going to see anyone who would willingly call their ex-husband their baby daddy, right? But I would say if you were to go to the Generation Zs, especially, that's where you're going to see it more proudly.
So Teen Mom actually scared a lot of young people out of not having children. That actually, because when we look at it, we're like, man, that's the dumbest thing ever. But a lot of younger people were looking at that and they said, wow, I don't want to go through that. I think things that really did hurt us was when you look at television, started glorifying single parenthood. Then you had some people and some single mothers out there did some amazing things, like graduate Harvard. There was like one woman, she graduated Harvard and she had her child with her. She said, well, I want to show everyone that they can do this. Well, I think there was a backfire on that. It's great that she was able to do that, but then everyone's like, oh, all these young women were looking at that and we're saying, well, that's what I have to do to feel empowered. That's what I have to do to really show everyone that I can do everything. Get pregnant by some loser, then go to college.
I actually think you're right, because 16 and Pregnant came out roughly when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old at that age. And I know that I didn't lose my virginity until my freshman year of college. So because I saw that stuff on, I don't want to wake up every 3 hours. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to deal with, having throw up all down my front. Like, no way. I was not ready for that.
I might still supposed to ask everybody how old was we when we broke our virginity, but I'll let that slide. Inky, are you there, Inky?
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
Hi, Inky.
Hi, Inky. Inky with her little cool logo.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Inky. So the question we start off with was I don't know if you heard us, but the question is, what is a baby mama, baby daddy?
Your child's other parent.
All right, short and sweet. I like that. Inky, like I ain't diving no deeper.
I mean,
it's almost like she read that out of the dictionary or something.
I can't even say your child. It could be it's just a child's other parent, and it just depends on what kind of relationship I believe you have with that other person. If you have respect for them, then I would be like, that's my child's father. If it's a lack of respect, then it's like, oh, that's the donor.
Sperm donor.
Baby daddy.
True.
Noun. Other parent.
Okay.
I think it's
Inky,
a respect thing.
So Inky, if me and you was together for 3 years and I said no, I don't want no kid, then we just have a kid, then I break up with you. Am I still the baby daddy?
Do you don't have anything to do with the kid?
Yes, I'm full committed to the kid.
Oh, well then you're his father.
Okay. Now I don't want.
If you're
Go ahead,
committed to the child and you're spending time with the child, then yeah, you're the father. That's a respect thing.
How do you refer to him to other people? How do you refer to him and to somebody else? What do you call him?
Their daddy, the baby's daddy. Like that's their dad. That's their dad.
Okay,
that's
so it's
father.
not your baby daddy. That's your child's father.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I.
I think that term is only used in a derogatory sense.
Okay, same thing Dame said. Okay. E, you want that link, man? Because I feel like you're shaking your head even in the chat. Jesus. E, let me know, man, in the DM or the Facebook, man. We pretty much have like a chill, open conversation. So you let me know if you want to join the conversation. All right, so it was something else I saw on I don't want to just bring it up, but in the corn industry, do we feel like it's is it unethical?
I really thought you were talking about agriculture for a minute. Then I realized what we're talking about.
I'm right with you there, dummy.
Yeah, we're not making gasoline. We're not making no kind of fuel, you know.
I thought we were totally going to take this another direction. Like, oh, wow, I'm a lot more.
Okay.
I was about to get excited there, but no, we can talk about your subject.
Is this an innuendo that I just didn't catch in the beginning?
Yeah,
Yes.
you did. It's P Hub. So if you're a P Hub star, do we
Oh,
find that
Mhm.
ethical, unethical?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
duh, like all the way around. It's super
So
unethical
yeah.
all the way around.
so if
Think
you're
Is
a
it?
P Hub, you don't feel like other people might be inspired or encouraged to be more than what they are because they see you be a P Hub or a P star.
Well, okay, here's the thing. We all know that corn causes the gray matter in your brain to dissipate for men. Like there've been multiple studies on this. So corn actually psychologically does make men sicker, which sick men, think about it. What's the way to crush society? Make the men sick, make the men weak, right? And that just starts with the whole barrier of breaking down society. And then the women in the corn industry, their self deletion rate is extremely high because that destroys them on the inside. Like I'm even having a hard time talking about this right now. Oh my gosh. But yeah, like that is, I think, is the start of the breakdown right there of a functioning society.
Shout out to the pole strippers. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm on board with that. I think realistically, if it's done for adults, if something that's because there's a lot of shit that's catered to adults that adults can handle. I would rather if I had a choice, but not seeing my I got kids. If I had person my 18-year-old, I'm talking 18 because I would never because it's made for adults watching corn, I guess you call it, and watching some of the violent shows on TV. I watched like a show called Vikings or somebody. No, what was the show? It was just I was just watching. I was watching this show called uh, Warrior. This guy stabbed a guy through his mouth with a chair leg, and then put his mouth on the bar, and then punched the back of it. I mean, would I
Mm.
rather see that or two people engaged in some type of adult activity if they're older? I mean, what really fucks with heads more with people's where like if you're telling me like the people who shoot up nightclubs, shoot up schools, and shoot up like that are aren't more influenced by the violence that we're letting get through, I would have a hard time agreeing with that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want children watching it because they have a distorted view of what actual sex and intimacy can actually be. I
Correct.
agree with that. But
So
as far as the detrimental to a man's psyche, I think violence and acceptable violence is more detrimental to a healthy society than adult entertainment.
I think that in its current state, it is unethical, but I'm somebody who is pro sex work. I think there are some pretty simple changes that you could make.
Your mic
that
is
would
like
make it
fading in
more-
and out, Neve. Try again. Your mic
This,
fading out.
is this any better or no?
Yeah, it's a little bit
Mhm.
better. Try it again.
Okay. This is the Gray Pill Podcast. It's right in my mouth, basically.
I feel like somebody just randomly asked a question subliminally, but thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, you
is
said
it-
about sex work? Yeah, we hear you
Okay,
good.
so I don't think that corn is ethical in its current state. Fun fact: Cornhub is a Canadian company based in Montreal. Shout out to Canada. But aside from that, we need to have some more strict, gateways in place to make sure that minors are not accessing corn. We also need to make like the wages and the money that the performers are being paid um, more transparent for a few reasons. I think that you could give somebody an informed look at whether or not doing amateur corn is really something that is profitable or worth doing. If you see, some corn performers who are, seemingly doing really well, but only to find out that they're making $100 a month or less, or they're doing professional corn and they're only being paid $3,000 a shoot. I think these information is very helpful to anyone who's looking at sex work as a because there is an exchange, right? Like you are exchanging a degree of modesty in taking on like sex work. And there's a lot of people who disagree with it flat out, right? So yeah, I just think that if as long as we're restricting it from minors and as long as we are being transparent about, you know, the pay structures and the way
So
performers are being paid, I think that you could definitely make it equitable.
All right, go ahead, Sandra.
I was about to say, I'm from Nevada, which is the only state that has legal brothels here, actually. For the longest time in the United States, it was the only place where it was like legally regulated. And I have a friend that used to work at one of those places, and it's not good for people's psyche. And ultimately, I guess, yes, you should have the freedom to do it, but I definitely think that it's okay to call things out if it's going to be detrimental to the individual. And a lot of the times it's really detrimental to the individual. And a lot of the times, like a friend of mine who shall remain anonymous, the guy thought that just because he bought her, he could do whatever he wanted to her. Now, thankfully, there were security measures in place. So, you know, like the doors don't lock and they have security on standby, but that's still going to be real to her. That was still a real experience. So psychologically, it messes with people. And then my roommate also is a former SA cop. He would investigate SA crimes. And he said that now pornography has become more and more extreme to appease people that are on drugs, and that there are men that they'll start off watching it and then they find that they're getting attracted to younger and younger and younger and younger women, crossing the threshold of not legal anymore. So
Sandra,
it makes you sick.
Sandra, by any way, the person named anonymous was he's this guy.
Was what? What? Oh God. Oh God.
You know, he does put fear in a lot of people's hearts. Just checking.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes you sick. I think you're already sick, and you try to find outlets to try to satiate that sickness or try to. But I don't think anything makes you sick. I think you already have it in you to do certain things because this is if you're going to be violent, you're going to be violent. I know people who survived SA and it was at school. It had nothing to do with porn. It had something to do with they went to a party and they got drunk, and then somebody tried to take advantage of it, and porn was nowhere in the situation. It's just like I think if the person is already sick, they're already sick.
Well, like not only that, but if you look at like because there are populations that literally have less access than most, I would say, to things like pornography and whatever, right? And so you go to like the Duggars, right? Anyone who's seen that recent documentary that came out, and they're talking about some of these more fundamentalist Christian sects and a lot of the people who have escaped fundamentalist Christianity, and the levels of sexual assault that are going on between boys and their sisters. I mean, young boys and their sisters, right? Because they're blaming the Duggar kid, like, oh, he's this one-off freak. He's not a one-off freak. It happens all the time. And so
part of the FLDS also.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that was at the Branch Davidian. They had 7-year-olds marrying 14-year-old girls.
Right. So then they don't have access to pornography. They're not engaging in anything to do with sex work, right? So we can't really take a look at, the sex work element and say that there's a cause and effect relationship there, especially because, and I wanted to double check. So I did. That's why I waited to answer, because when you first answered, Sandra, I went, really? They've done research that has now proven that pornography specifically does affect the male brain negatively. And well, no, sex addiction, right? And so porn addiction or porn addiction absolutely affects the reward centers in the male brain or anyone's brain, and that's a problem regardless of what your addiction is, right? Because whether it's gambling or drugs or alcohol or actually having intercourse with people or porn or self-gratification, it doesn't matter what it is, right? When you
Have
are
pornography addiction rates increased?
They have increased, but the reason why they've increased is because it's something that's more accessible. Exactly. So it's not that addiction rates have increased overall, like as in overall addiction rates. People who are addicts tend to become addicted to something. So if they weren't addicted to gambling, then they often swap one addiction for another, so on and so forth. So a kid who has become addicted to corn, right, might have become addicted to something else if they didn't have accessibility to corn. And it's very likely because, again, there are biomarkers and whatever. So we can't really blame the corn. We can't really blame the sex industry for that, right? Addiction, again, there's factors pretty much where you kind of have like this heritability factor. You inherited the ability to be an addict. I know I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic, right? You inherit that ability. And then what happens is you need to have a trigger somewhere in life that kind of sets that off, for lack of better words, right? And that's pretty much any addiction, right? And that's why some people can gamble, not be addicted. Some people can drink alcohol, not get addicted. Some people can watch porn, not get addicted, right? So I think that it's not really being accurate when we're saying, well, you just take this away and everything will be fine. It's not. Look at the fundamentalist sects again and how much sexual abuse is going on just within families, let alone between leaders and the very, very young kids that they're given access to, right? I mean, they have the least access to all those things. And I would say probably just based on, again, there's only so much report we can have really because they won't allow themselves to be recorded to that extent. But based on what we hear, the rates are sky high and they have no access to any of the above. So
all right, fair enough. Before you get in email, hold on real quick. Shout out to everybody for coming on through. Appreciate if you hit the like button, definitely help us out. If you're new, definitely hit the subscribe button. Shout out to Everything Everyday Podcast with the googly eyes. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate you for coming on through. Shout out to the other host of the podcast. She goes and says, I don't know why this thing load up slow. Please stop making blank statements about workers' experience. Shout out to Ashley O. She chimes in, says, not explain to me what that base thing is. I'm gonna keep 100. I don't know if that's a white thing. I don't know.
It's like a good thing. They're saying like you're grounded. Like that was a logical, good response.
Maybe I'm old, Dane, because I don't understand.
It's new. It's pretty new. But
all this time they've been saying that. They thought you've been calling you white.
I don't know what that means. I'm like, what is this? Every time something come up base, I hear Pearly say, I ain't gonna lie, when Pearly say stuff out her mouth, I get like everything is toxic. Right? So she said base. I'm like, no. But also she goes on and says, I guess she was agreeing with what Ruby's saying about she was like, exactly, the focus on sex workers cause it's easier for brain industry.
Blame the industry of what?
I'm not sure. I guess what Ruby saying earlier.
Yeah.
It's easier to blame the sex work industry and say that this industry is causing a problem rather than recognizing that people who have a problem are partaking in this industry, but they would still have the problem even if the industry didn't exist.
Correct. I think you usually take both subjects apart and say there's problems here. We don't have to merge these problems into a single problem, but they are separate problems.
I think that's what we were saying earlier. Like, don't just say it's one in the whole, but just like understand what your triggers is and what makes you an addict. Just don't say porn P-Hub makes you that, or watching it. Let's say you go out your way and say, hey, I watch it. Then what's consider you an addict of that versus the other? Because you might make it, you might say, hey, I watch it Mondays at 8 o'clock, Wednesday at 8 o'clock, Friday 8 o'clock. Does it make you an addict? Because now you're scheduling it versus just like, I gotta have it. But she goes on to say, says, hey, I am a SP and I love my job and have never had a bad experience besides them getting on my nerves. Shout out to you.
And that's her, but like you said, nuanced. Everybody has different experiences, and I've seen it from somebody firsthand, and it was heartbreaking.
But I think you can apply the same logic to your friend's experience, right? Your friend's experience would be just as dismissible because of the same thing that you just brought up.
Wait, what?
Respectfully. So
There's something wrong with your
this individual
mic sensitivity settings there.
Do I need to turn it up, like my input gain?
Are you using what
you have
mic
some sort of like auto? You have some sort of auto adjustment there that keeps adjusting back and forth.
So it's going loud, quiet, like it's going in and out.
But anyway, what does SP mean?
It's basically sex worker.
Yeah,
I don't know what
SP
stands for, but yeah.
What
So
what does SP stand for, Azria? Let us know. But I know she works in the sex industry.
It says right here, SP stands for spelling.
No. Wrong SP. Wrong SP. Okay.
So yeah, I know. I'm just saying that that's what comes up. So
go ahead.
Maybe I should turn off the child filter.
Okay. She said service provider.
Go ahead, either man. Sorry, either man. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting take. I was listening to Damien take. No, I think it's Dane. I'm sorry, not Damien. Dane take.
Hey, my name is Damien. It's been a sign behind it. I did just say Damien on it.
So I'll listen to your take, and then I have a disagreement, but I kind of get what you're saying. You're saying that
what's that?
I think sickness comes from without, not within. I know a lot of people think that you're born as a baby, and as a baby, this sickness is in you, and it's time for the sickness to come out of you one day. I think that's BS. I think a lot of things are learned behaviors.
I agree.
And when they learn the behaviors, they just like that type of things. It's almost like certain things that, like when people experience, like they might be assaulted. It wasn't that was always in them. They just might enjoy the assault in a way, or they got pleasure from the assault that they might never got pleasure before.
Yeah, I don't know. You talking some crazy. You talking some real controversial. So people enjoyed the assault.
No.
I don't.
I think I understand what either man is saying there.
Yeah, I gotta let me finish.
Maybe he used the wrong.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I think I know exactly what he's saying. He meant it exactly. He meant it exactly how he said it, because it's a common thing that I've heard in the Black community, and people really truly believe this. No, it is. That's why I know for sure he meant it exactly how he said it.
The Canadian Black community. But let's go back to either man. He's got a point to get out.
So because it's an explanation for gayness.
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
An explanation for gayness.
Hold on. One at a time. See what you did, E. Inky.
My forehead trigger people like. It's just like a trigger alert.
Hold on, time out. Because I heard Inky. She finally spoke. So Inky, Dame, and then Neve. Then either man can respond back. Inky, what you saying?
Go ahead.
I know. Everybody just came at you.
I can't raise my hand because I'm not in my office, so. That's why I'm not on camera, but in a little bit, if you guys are still on, I'll get over to the office. But
yeah,
when it comes to the statement, I actually have a lot of comments too. I agree with Ruby as far as it's okay. Ruby, what did you just say real quick? Can you refresh my brain so I can? You just said something about how it's not the fault of the corn. Is not the addiction. The people have the addiction itself. Okay, yes, I completely agree with Ruby on this one. And then he was just saying about, darn it.
It's fine. We can come back. We can come back.
It was. Go
ahead, I'm
trying to remember.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying to remember what he was just saying. What was he just saying?
Talking about how some stuff is a learned behavior.
Yes, it's a learned behavior. It's not okay. I know what I was going to say. So for instance, they're teaching that we can have pronouns in school, kind of thing. This is a learned behavior. It's not something that I don't believe that you're born with unless you're born a hermaphrodite. It's the same kind of thing. The people are like, oh, I just have this sickness or whatever now, and now I just want to be this sex or that sex. It's a learned behavior. And there is cases where there's hermaphrodites, which are born with both sets of genitals. And so their body is literally confused. And they can have a hormone imbalance, which can be fixed. But I agree with him on that. It's like that is a learned behaviors. And those types of sicknesses about addictions, it's the same way. It's a way people deal with certain traumas. And I agree with that. Do I agree that the sex industry has perpetuated the situation? No, because it's one of the oldest industries there is out there. The access that we have to it is influencing that addiction. Because we used to have Playboy magazines, right? We used to have all those hustler magazines. You don't think men had 50 magazines under the bed or in the bathroom under the sink? It was just as bad then. They just didn't have readily access to it just by typing something in on the web.
Fair enough.
Well, maybe that's where the destructive part comes in, because even social media, it's instant access, instant information, instant everything on the web, and that has been documented to be doing things psychologically to us. So maybe it's just the internet.
The reason it does that is because when you release from an orgasm, your body releases oxytocin, and oxytocin is like heroin. So it's an addiction to that oxytocin, that high.
Hey, Inky, speaking, I'm so glad that guy pinpointed something, because the fact you said that, somebody made a comment in one platform I was watching. So because of the oxytocin, so is it true? Do men have a flight or fight mode when
only after the oxytocin wears off?
Okay.
Why they're in the oxytocin moment, it's that love hormone. It's that numb hormone. Okay. It's so they're like, oh baby, I love you. As soon as that wears off, men that are not in love with their significant other are like, girl, that was good. It was great. I got to get home. I got to go to work in the morning.
Oh God.
Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every man out there has been in that position at least once, unless they're really just a true wholesome guy that's only been with that one woman that they love. But it's that once that hormone is gone.
E-Man disagreeing with you.
It's called post-nut clarity.
E-Man disagreeing with you. E-Man, you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been fucking somebody. I'm sorry. I've been having sex with somebody. And
it's called relations.
I was having relations. Let me say that. I was having relations, and I never felt love. Like love wasn't the feeling. Even at the climax, at the top of the climax, I didn't feel like the love was there. Like
I didn't say you loved him. I said it's called the love hormone, but it's oxytocin, which is it's like your body's natural derivative of heroin, which is that high feeling you get of euphoria.
I think it does something different for men. It does something different. There's like an ego boost and kind of like you feel super masculine when you're doing it. I don't think for women it may be more of a love situation, like because I'm with Eda, man. It's just like
it's the same
emotion. I think it stimulates different parts of the brain for men and women. It stimulates the more I am powerful part of the brain.
It does that too, honey.
So I'm connected to it.
Well, the thing is,
but I'm saying it doesn't make me feel that I'm in love either. Only if I love that person, it makes me feel empowered. That's that Superman feeling. That's what that drug does.
Is that the same as the orgasm? Is that the same as orgasm for women?
It's the same. It's the same hormone.
Fear,
it's the same feeling.
Guys, fear and love actually, and sex release, and all those things are actually sensed in the body the exact same way. And so the exact same, because everyone knows about oxytocin, but there's other hormones that are released during sexual stuff with people, right? So like dopamine actually is is the thing that lights up your reward center like a Christmas tree, right? So that would be, and that's the same thing that drugs and whatever. Oxytocin, they call it like the love hormone because it's like the bonding hormone, right? But really what we're talking about is a cascade of a whole bunch of different neurotransmitters and hormones and whatever that are flooded into your body all at once. It's the exact same hormones, though, or series of stuff that's happening to you, whether you are terrified in the middle of a bridge thinking you're about to die, or you literally are reaching a climax, right? Or you are being excited by someone sexually or whatever. It's exactly the exact same series of everything. So the only way that you interpret it differently is because of your senses. Like your senses are telling you, I am scared now because I could die and I don't want to die. This is bad, right? Versus, ooh, this is the greatest feeling on earth and I'm about to climax and go over this peak and I love that. I want more of that, right? So a lot, it's not just the hormones. There's also your kind of psychological perception. So when you think about the bonding hormone that's kind of flooding you, it's the reason why at the beginning of a new partner that you're sleeping with or whatever, right? You want to keep going, you want to keep touching them, you want to keep whatever because you want those hormones to keep coming. You want the neurotransmitters to keep coming. They fill you with something really great. But you might have a perception, whether you're male or female, that you could only get that one time from someone. It has nothing to do with that person. It has to do with, new activity with someone new, right? So you would never say, hey, therefore I should cuddle with this person after, because your perception is telling you that to get that feeling again, you need to sleep with someone new. Right. Yeah. So your perception of what's happening has a lot to do with it. And then again, you could be addicted to these normal sensations as well, right? Which would make someone chase it and, run over their own mother in the street all to get it. So there's a little bit more to it. I think people kind of try to boil it down and make it a little, too simplified, but it's no, everyone's being flooded with the same hormones and in the same series. And in fact, we get flooded with those hormones in a lot of different types of scenarios as humans. So
can we go back? Go ahead, Inky, then because I have something to say. Go ahead, Inky.
I promise this last thing. Someone mentioned that they may like it in the GRAP department. Mm-hmm. Okay. I heard this from my daughter's therapist that she was seeing, and she was 4 years old. And I know it sounds ridiculous. And I actually fired the therapist over this, the psychologist, because she said my four-year-old daughter, after she was sexually assaulted and GRAPED, that there was parts of her that enjoyed it. And there was parts of her that knew that it was wrong. I'm like, you're fired. Because me as a parent doesn't want to ever hear that. So it is known fact medically that your body naturally does like it because it's the act. It's our animal instinct to like it. Not that our mental likes it. It's the animal instinct to like it. And I know it sounds disgusting. And I even fired her her therapist over it.
Yeah, but people who haven't gone through puberty do not have the physiological responses that people are referring to, right? And so your body physiologically responding to stimulation is not you enjoying something, because just because your body is going to physiologically respond doesn't mean you psychologically enjoyed it.
That's part of the confusion of the chaos going on. So I'm in agreement with Inky. I was already aware of these things. That's when you listen to I've seen some of those documentaries of women that came out of the corn industry, and they talked about what got them into it. And a lot of them, when they were children, they were assaulted, and they were trying to deal with those feelings. Part of it is, it was scary. There's things about it that didn't like it, but there's also things about it that was very fascinating to them, and on some sort of animalistic level, they kind of enjoyed for whatever reason. But it's also the trauma, that's the scarring of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's what they tell themselves to get. Yeah, I think that's what they tell themselves to get through the day. But realistically, it's them. A lot of women are just trying to reclaim their sexuality after some things like that. It's like they're trying to own it again by saying, "You didn't take this from me. I'm in charge of it. I own my sexuality. You don't." I think a lot of women are just trying to do that. So they say, "Oh, they like this kind of stuff," but I don't know. It's just this is what I've heard and read. It's just it's more just like a reclaiming the sexuality or what have you. I don't think the violence part is enjoyable. I think there may be a closeness if somebody is not used to being and used to being told or any type of real positive attention or anything like that. Maybe they're being groomed and they're getting some kind of affirmation or something like that, but what have you. But
that's what it is, right?
That's called trauma bonding, hon. That's why they have that part of them that enjoy it. It's because it's trauma bonding.
Well, I mean, you trauma bond with other people. You don't trauma bond with the person.
What they're doing is predators are trading something the person they're preying on wants versus something they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's I'm going to hug you, and give you physical stimulation and the hugging, because being touched and being hugged and being loved like that feels good as humans, right? But now I'm going to do something you really don't want, like that touch doesn't feel good.
You.
But if you want the hug, you got to do this part, right? If you want the affirmation, you have to do this part. And so what they're doing is they're trading something they really don't like for something that they really do like. And it gets all mixed and confused and jumbled in their mind. And then they start blaming themselves because the predator is blaming them also. But the truth is that no one likes to be violated. Like really violated, exactly. No one likes that. No.
They think the violence goes hands in hand with the love, with the affection, with the what you call it. So they start to associate, okay, for somebody to really show me they love you, there has to be a violence element into it. So they don't know that it can be that way without the violent element. They just kind of expect that to be a part of it. Right. So because they're like, I'm longing for the connection and the love. So in last time I got that, it was violence attached. So I need the violence to really feel the love.
No, y'all are so off.
I
know it triggers y'all. Let me say my statement because I'll let y'all talk. Listen, it's some people who want the violence. They're into man, it's a whole category that's designed for violence, people taking it and they enjoying this type of this type of act. Right.
See how you confuse those two words, though? I never said violence. I said violated. There's a difference. Actually, I like BDSM and I like to be dominated. But you're arguing against a point I didn't make. It's not that every woman likes soft sex or every person wants to be softly touched. No. People like BDSM. People that there's a difference between that and being truly violated. Someone's taking something from you that you don't want. Someone's penetrating you when you don't want to be penetrated. No one likes to actually be violated. People like all kinds of manner of thing. I like all kinds of manner of thing, including great fantasy. I like that, right? But that's not a violation because that is me consensually doing something with my partner, right? Me saying, hey, this is what I want. You set out the rules of it, right? And you're not crossing any of my boundaries or my lines. So you're actually fulfilling me. I'm actually in control there. So that's not a violation. Nobody likes to really be violated. There's a difference.
The sub in most BDSM situations is the one in control because they can control whether or not it stops or when it stops, how long it goes, and the intensity of it. So it's like I've been around that world too. So
what is the utility? Where's the utility in making that distinction? Like, what is your point by bringing that up?
Well, I haven't made a point all night. I say 2 words and it cuts off. I don't know. I don't know what the point
is.
On,
E, make your point. E, make your point. I'm trying to let it happen. E.
That's true. I'm sorry. I will mute. I dislike everything you've said today. I'm gonna mute so I can't interrupt you. I apologize.
You're Ashley tonight. You're Ashley tonight, Ruby.
So, E-Man.
I know.
So the reason I asked that is because when you just say something like that, there's no utility, we have to wonder what your motivations are for saying it. I don't think there is any because he admittedly already said that he didn't have any. Did he not?
Because he didn't get to it yet.
You're right.
Come on, go for it.
Okay, no, you can talk. I would like to hear you out because I don't want to mischaracterize you if I'm wrong.
I'm just at this point, I don't care about being mischaracterized on YouTube, but this is what we do on the YouTube space. We take a portion of what a person is saying, and then we give a whole dialogue to say, hey, I understand where this person was going to land and what they was going to say. What I'm saying is I know people in the sex work industry, and they like to be violated. They like for a dude to take it from them when they don't want to give it up.
I think that's more dominated, not violated.
Okay.
I did want to say something if that's okay.
Sure, Sandra.
Somebody mentioned like the gay community earlier, and when I got my first job in New Orleans, my friend Frederick, he's 55 years old. He's a gay man, and he was talking about his daughter, and I was like, "Oh, you have a daughter? Like, how does that work?" And because he told me he was gay. Well, he actually told me that when he was in his 20s, he was assaulted in when he went to jail, and then when he came out, that's just he liked men. And I didn't even know that was like a thing. I was actually kind of shocked because I thought that, either you were born gay or you weren't. So I didn't even know that was a thing. So
E would like the yeah, Inky say you're not born that way. You muted. I'm gonna make sure you get your airtime, E. I'm gonna make sure.
Let's go back to my first point. Okay.
All right.
The first point that I was making is a lot of things is learned behaviors. I get that people feel that they inherit this from their great grandfather, or they inherit this sickness from something before. I actually think that we learn more than we think we do, and it's studies out there that shows, and I get it's depending on how you want to look at it, but it shows that babies don't have these things that we think, these sickness that Daniel was saying at birth. Is usually some type of traumatic event or something happens that causes them to be able to start doing certain things. So when we first start talking about sickness, I don't think that all sickness, I'm not saying that you can't have, like, I'm still trying to find the gene. I was reading papers and I'm trying to find the gene that makes you into a someone who takes advantage of someone. Like, where is that gene at? Like, why haven't we identified that gene? So I don't think. Go ahead.
Learned behavior.
No, I'm sorry. No. I don't want to make sure you feel like you interrupted. Go ahead. Finish yourself. I'm sorry.
So I think a lot of people, when we start looking at nature versus nurture, I think a lot of this stuff is nurture. Some people are just a little freaky. They learned they experienced something that they never experienced before, and you know what happened? They liked it. They liked it because they start trying to chase that high. It's almost like that person who do the drug. They didn't know that they was going to be addicted to that, but the experience of using that drug gave them the ability to know that they wanted that in their life again. And that was the point that I was making on that first point.
Woo! There you go.
I was watching this show about this serial killer called the Iceman. It's about Jeff Kuklinski. And the psychologist was sitting down there, and he was saying, you have a certain personality that if it's fostered, you have certain fearless kind of personality where you can kind of like proceed without fear of self, of you getting hurt or whatever. Kind of like but if it's you put those people in the wrong environment, they're beaten, they're abused, or what have you, that can turn into something that can turn into sociopathic and psychopathic behavior. You put them in a loving, nurturing environment, and that can be turned into like the people who want to be police officers, the guy who would run into a burning building to save a family or what have you. I think there are certain personality traits that we are born with, and then your environment can either foster it or exploit it, and it can permeate the rest of your life, good or bad. So I don't think that, I do feel like certain things you're born with certain things. I don't think people come out perfectly formed and we fuck it up. I think there are certain things that are inherent in people, whether it's hereditary, because just like they say, certain things can be hereditary. A lot of people who've had bipolarism, their children have bipolarism, not because they were raised exactly the way or had the same experiences. It's because it's hereditary to bipolarism is something that scientists have found can be hereditary. So just to think that everybody comes out perfectly clean and you can fuck them up, I think it's just not a true statement. I think it's
I get what you're saying.
Not true.
So, but what you can do is you could take a person who come from a non-violent family and you can plug them into the prison system for 10 years, and that person can produce violent type things. So I get it. We say, oh, it was in his DNA to be violent. No, he was in a violent prison and he had to adapt. As humans, we typically adapt to our surroundings. And that's the point that I'm making.
I'm not talking about people who've had violence. I'm talking about people. Please. Okay, I'm talking about people who grew up in great households and become serial killers. Every serial killer didn't come from a broken home. Every serial killer didn't have a situation where they were getting brutalized. Like Ted Bundy came from a loving family, but he just had this part of his brain that was wired for destruction. And nobody ever fostered it. He wasn't beaten. He wasn't starved. He wasn't abused. He just had this personality that was fostered by negative things and violence. That was fed by negative things and violence. So to try to say like it's the environment that creates the bad person, no. Sometimes it's in you, and the environment can help quelch that and help the person work through that. But there are some people who are just born bad.
Yeah, go ahead, Neve.
Okay, so I think the reason I pressed you on the utility of saying something like that, if we look back at the original discussion, somebody brought up the fact that a lot of sex workers have a tendency to come from sexual assault. So would you agree that sexual assault is bad, period? Like it shouldn't happen. Do you agree with that?
I'm 100%. I'm 100%. Can you hear me?
It's a yes or no question.
Well, I'm gonna answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
Okay, let's just assume you don't answer that.
I get what you said. I'm 100% in disagree with anyone sexually assaulting anyone.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed you to say. So what value does communicating whether the person thinks like whether it was bad, whether it was good, like where's the value in making that distinction?
I'm glad. That's a great question. What I was doing,
because it just derailed the discussion like quite
actually,
a bit.
I didn't derail the discussion at all. I actually was on topic. What we was talking about, if you understand what Damien's point was that bad people are just bad. Sickness is just something that's inside of you. That's the point that he was making. So what I was saying is, with these certain things happening to you, it actually can be able to change the way that you are based off your experience. And that was just the top of the hand that we used that discussion.
So you were still on the sidetrack, right? There's a reason I recentered it to the original discussion, because that entire branch of the conversation was part of the derail that you started. That's what I'm identifying right now.
Well, it's not a derail, because all of when I came up here, we was talking about corn, right? Corn. So all of this is part of the conversation, because we also had other people. We talk about derailing. They was talking about how are these people in this industry? Why are they doing this kind of stuff? So I'm definitely on topic. I didn't come up here. Y'all was talking about politicians, and I started talking about SA. I'm on topic, hands down on topic on what we're talking about.
Agree to disagree.
Yes. And to be fair, I did start the conversation off with baby mamas, two kinds, but we moved. The goalpost has been moving, and that's how the conversation I enjoy. It's a group conversation. There's no set topic for this.
Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Ruby,
I'm sorry. I've been so trying. Like I muted myself. I turned the camera off, and I tried so hard. You don't understand. It was a lot of work.
Let the Ashley Force compel you.
Yes, thank you. No, but for real though. So the first thing I wanted to say is this, and I'm not sure. I mean, maybe my field is psychology, neuroscience, and behavior. So I wanted to make that clear before I continue. I'm responding not just based on some of the things I'm saying are like my own personal experience, like the fact that, you know, I have personally been assaulted, and I'm also personally into BDSM as a sub, or as a you know, so. And I'm into certain types of things like bondage, like, you know, certain types of fantasies. And so this is why, you know, as personally from my own research, but also from my own life, I can tell you, I can tell you that there is certainly a difference between, like I said, the power that you get from being able to be that much in submission to another person taking something from you. Because again, if you want them to take it from you, that's willing, whether or not it is a level of role play, fantasy, whatever. And it's really difficult for people to understand unless they've engaged in it. So I wanted to say that. The second thing I wanted to say though, and this has to do more now going to like my actual education and profession. So when you're looking at, there's different types of disorders. Okay. So one would be personality disorders, right? Personality disorders are almost entirely environmental, right? That is to say, so for example, cluster B personality disorders, most people know what those are: borderline personality disorder, histrionic, stuff like that, right? Or obsessive compulsive disorder, antisocial personality disorder, right? That would basically be sociopaths. Those things are almost entirely environmental. That is to say, you can be deprived of a certain type of thing that humans need, because we forget how much humans literally need to be taught everything. And so you could be deprived of that at a critical point early in childhood. And because you're being deprived of these things, it causes you, in essence, to develop a disordered personality. Okay. And so that's different than something, for example, like bipolar disorder or major depressive disorder. Okay. Or even post-traumatic stress disorder. Right. And so I'm going to stick with post-traumatic stress disorder for a second, because I think we all kind of know what it is. It's a response to stress, and it's serious, man. You can have flashbacks, panic attacks. It can literally make you just unable to function. Right. But everyone who experiences trauma does not experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Right. So it's not a normal response to trauma, as in everyone's doing it. Right. It is only specific people respond to trauma by developing PTSD. And the reason why is because those specific people have a heritable precursor. Right. They inherited it, a precursor that would allow them to develop this disorder should they experience something very traumatic for them, right? Whereas in people who don't have that precursor will never develop post-traumatic stress disorder. They just never will. It doesn't matter how horrible and traumatic their lives go, they're never going to develop this disorder, right? And so there's a difference between a personality disorder, totally environmental, like literally. I mean, you have some things with antisocial personality disorder, right? With violent predators that we know, for example, their forebrain, right? So their frontal lobe tends to be underdeveloped. We know this. They tend to have lesions, something else that is actually impacting their frontal lobe. So while there's not a gene, certainly trauma at an early age or trauma during birth or in the womb can definitely contribute to violent tendencies and violent predators. We know this. And actually, we know this as well because people have changed personality radically after having serious traumatic brain injury of the frontal lobe. And so, you know, that can definitely happen, but you can also, again, just deprive kids of love, deprive them of respect, show them only violence when they're 3, 4, 5 years old, and they can also develop into violent predators, right? But it doesn't matter how much you love them or do this or do that or whatever. If they have a propensity to develop, let's say, an addiction, right? Because that's something that can be passed down, not just heritably through your regular genome, but also through your epigenome. It's like a whole nother level now, right? You could try to love them as much as you want, but as soon as they can experience a trigger in life that you maybe as a parent never even hear about, and that's what sets them off. And so we have to recognize that environment and your genes, there's an interplay there. There definitely is, but we are much further along than people seem to think as far as understanding what's causing some of these things, where they're coming from, what's setting them off, you know, how to prevent them, whatever. Like people are talking about it like it's all interchangeable, and it's just not. And I really want to say that. So, okay.
All right, go ahead. And I'm gonna start off with a new topic. If anybody got to respond to that, and applaud for David, and everybody agrees with you in chat. Sandra, do you want to respond to anything before we go on to the new topic?
I guess with like post-traumatic stress disorder, I was just kind of wondering because I grew up as a poor kid, so wasn't really like a good childhood growing up or anything like that. But I didn't really like develop that until like I was 25, and something really, really big happened that I think would freak anybody out, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I is it just like there has to be a certain particular trauma that it hits, like a certain level it has to hit before it shows up, or like?
It has to do with your perception of the trauma, right? And that's why for some people it would take being in a war situation and then they lost everyone but them and the bombs exploding in their face and whatever. And for some people, like, I mean, I'm just saying objectively, comparatively, it might be something much smaller, like a car accident, right? And people have car accidents every day and they're fine. And then some people have like a minor fender bender and they can't even leave their house because they're now agoraphobic, right? So it's not necessarily about trying to objectively compare levels of trauma or what you experienced or whatever, right? It's more about the perceiver, right? You as a perceiver, you went through a lot of things as a child. And maybe for you, you perceive those things as your normal. So they weren't standing out from other things that were happening. And overall, you were okay. Maybe there's other factors that were coming to play, like you had built-in support systems like siblings or friends in the neighborhood or something that were going through the same thing. So again, you perceive these things as normal. And that could be wildly different from the circumstance you were in your, early 20s when you experienced something else. And it caused you to develop, a post-traumatic stress reaction to it, right? So like it's not really something that's super predictable, right? Like even when we're talking about heritability, just because my mom had this disorder doesn't mean I'll for sure carry the markers and I would for sure develop it if I went through something traumatic. And then like you said, well, you could go through lots of traumatic things until you hit the correct trauma that induces that response in you. So it's not like an exact science, like where we could predict it. Mostly they look backwards, right? So given that you develop this disorder, let's look for these genes, let's look for these markers, let's look at your brain, let's look at all these different things and see what we can determine. And then when you do that with enough of the population, you start seeing trends and patterns, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I really am based because yeah. Okay, so we'll let E-Man go on this one. So new topic. So sex, no sex, emotional connection versus the physical. Because I hear pretty much the third person up this year says, look, I prefer just more of an emotional connection versus a physical connection. Most people say, hey, I enjoy both. Other people say, hey, I have more of a sexual connection versus who's that just popped in here? Are we sharing links in here? Oh, that's Inky. I guess you went.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So topic: sex, no sex, emotional connection versus. Hey, Inky. So you're right on time, Inky. Sex, no sex, emotional connection versus the physical. Most people say, hey, I'd rather have the emotional connections with the persons, whether it's guy, girl, girl and guy, girl. Other people say, hey, I want a little bit of balance of both. Some people say, hey, I'm fine with just having just as much sex as I need because, hey, we're in a relationship. Why not? E-Man, what's your thoughts on that?
So that was a very piled on question. So are you asking me to compare the emotional stimulation versus the physical stimulation, or are you asking is one more important than the other?
Pretty much a two-parter. If you want to compare the two, your thoughts on that, and what would you prefer for yourself personally?
I think gender matters. So gender matters because some people can't get to the physical if the emotional level is not there. For example, if a guy cannot if he can't get extended or he can't get ready to perform from a mental point of view, it's hard to do from a get to the physical point of view if he's mentally not there. I don't think one or the other is more important than the other. I think some people leans on others, but I think you need a little bit of both. I think some people don't understand. I think to completely climax, you need to be emotionally there and physically there to be able to really have the full experience. And I think age matters too, because if we have this discussion and we polled a group of 20-year-olds, they might say the physical is more important versus we polled 65-year-olds. They say the emotional connection is more important. So I think when we start understanding the things is our bodies go through different stages and we might need different things. Because if I would say in my 20s, the physical is more important than the emotional. But as I get older in age, the emotional connection makes it 10 times better. So it's a really complex. I don't think you can just have one without the other, because most men know if I'm mentally not there, typically my body's not going to follow. If I'm mentally gone, my body's not going to follow it. So,
all right, fair enough. Anybody response? Agree? Disagree?
Well, I shockingly agreed with most of what you said. Actually, I wasn't thinking I would because of the last question period. But by and large, I mostly agreed with what you said. I mean, I think also
when you let the man speak, he makes sense.
No, he didn't make sense the last question here. I let him speak. Remember the whole muting? It was a whole fiasco. Anyway, okay, listen, so the point is though, no, for real, I think the thing is also, and this is gonna sound weird because I learned almost nothing from this TV show otherwise, but in that TV show, Goop, the Gwyneth Paltrow one, whatever it's called. Yeah, they had like a sex one in there. And anyway, there's a bunch of couples. And apparently there's a bunch of different ways that you can experience, these experiences. And different people have different kind of peak ways of enjoying corn. Or not corn, but like, the whole sex of it all. And so there's like energetics versus visuals versus physicals or whatever. I can't remember. There's like maybe 5 or 6 different ways that you can be categorized. And it was amazing to see people who had been sexually active like their whole lives, 20, 30 years, men included, who were like brought to tears, literal actual tears, because they had no idea that they could have an orgasm that powerful, like ever. Right. They thought they had the best that they ever could and whatever, but then they were put into experience, instead of just going with their eyes and, oh, well, I'll just look at her. She looks hot, whatever. It's like, oh, you're an energetic. So actually playing with heat and this and that and whatever is going to titillate you in a completely different way. And then them being brought like literally to tears because it's like, wow, I didn't know it could feel that way. Right. Like, and I expected women to kind of respond that way, but to see men, to me, respond that way, like the ones who are kind of taught that, hey, sex is for you, and every time you have sex, you're going to come, right? Like women are not taught that. So to see them respond that way, kind of let you know, like, wow, at first we're kind of told it's really all very physical, very visual, very whatever. It doesn't matter about your emotional connection. And if emotional connection with the lights off, maybe you could get it 1 or 2 times. And, we're told all this stuff and it stays very visual. And then it goes to emotional. Well, you can love someone and then enjoy it there. But I think there's even more levels than that, right? Like there's what kind of sex are you having, right? And what kind of fulfillment do you get the most fulfilled by? And are you with someone who knows and understands your levels and is willing to give those things to you and vice versa? So yeah, I think, that a lot of times that kind of wisdom does come with age. For women especially.
I agree with, like I said, now that was going probably close to my point. Is like, I think depending on where I was in my development, like how old I was, there's been different stages of what sex and like sexual gratification and like, what I've determined more value. When you're young, it's all about access. I just need access. Just give me an open hole and I'm sticking something in it. That's what it is. Then you get into where it was just like, then it gets into like where it's all about ego. Like I gotta prove I'm the man, so I gotta just make sure you gonna leave here, and I'm gonna have a good rep with you. It's gonna be, you're gonna think I'm the man. Then it's like, you get into when you really start developing what you need in relationships. It's that comfort level. It's like right now, I can tell stories and people are like, oh my God, that was amazing. But what I'm doing right now with my wife of 15 years, it's just like, it's one of those situations where I'm more comfortable with her than anybody else. And I can say whatever and do whatever, and there's zero judgment behind it. And that comfort level became with maturity. I don't think that meant as much to me when I was a kid as it does to me now at my age now, because now I can just, there's no, I can say anything. And like, there was one clip on Instagram where he was like, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And his wife was like, that's it? Okay. I'll spit butter in your ass if you want me to, it's just like, you get to that comfort level where you can do whatever you want and there's no judgment, and you realize you get that for the rest of your life. And then it makes it the best ever, because you don't have to worry about the judgment or the uncomfortability of the situation. Like I said, when I was younger, different phases, different stages, and now it's all about the connection and the comfort that I have with my wife.
All right. Shout out to Butter Parquet. Yeah. Anybody have a response to that? Because I pretty much have a question with that. Anybody have a response?
I don't have much of a response. I just reinforcement. It's true when you're emotionally engaged in a relationship, both parties are going to have a lot more enjoyment out of it. Unfortunately, in our youth, and sexuality is pointed at males and females differently. We're different target markets. They use different marketing for it. But for young males, it's meant more like a scorecard. You have to do these things. They're kind of like Beavis and Butthead, like they're always trying to score because they can't think of anything else. They don't realize it's more than just scoring. I mean, the reason why I would call it that is because they're trying to turn it into a game, which is disgusting. So men are not taught that it's okay to have emotions. They're not taught that you need to engage in these emotions, and that's ultimately what you're seeking in a relationship. And we have a lot of young people now. They think they're looking for love, but they think sex and love are the same thing, when in fact they are not. So they go out there seeking all the sex, thinking that they're looking for love, and then the relationship part never works out. So there's a lot of within society there's a lack of understanding.
Well, I think too, like it's layers to it, because I remember as a young man when I started having sex, I was thinking that to please a woman, we was taught the G spot, we was talked about the clitoris, but then I started doing studies, and it was people who can take a feather and please a woman by just touching her skin to be able to make her stimulate from a mental point of view. And I started diving deeper, and I realized that it was some dudes who didn't even have to touch her. He can touch her energy that's around her to still make her climax. And so I think is levels to it. Many people, they stay at that mediocre level of, not mediocre, that's the wrong word. They stay at that level of pleasing from a physical aspect and don't understand their partner and the fixes to help them get to what they need to do.
Well, because they haven't created that environment of comfort. I think what happens is that happens when you create that environment of safety and comfort that people can say, because nobody's going on the first date and be like, you know what, I want you to spit in my mouth and then put a belt around my neck. Nobody's saying that on the first date. But if you with somebody 15 years, you can say that, be like, oh, which belt? The brown one or the black one?
And that's what you guys do? I'm not sure I'll ever want to be at that point.
Because it's not for you. But it might be for them.
And the thing is, the reason that it happened, let me finish. I'll let you, let me just finish this, Lennis. The reason is because it's reciprocal. It's like the reason that you can do that is because you both have gained that level of comfort. They know they can do the same with you. They can say, like, my wife was like, hey, I want you to put on some figure skates and butter yourself up and come in the room. You gotta, if you got that comfort level, you can do that. You can do those kind of things. Both people know that the things that they're wanting, the other person will not only do for the most part, but they won't judge them for wanting it. Even if they don't do it, they won't judge them for wanting it. And that's creating that level of comfort that makes it to where you can just, because when you with new, I never understood the whole, new pussy and all this kind of stuff like that, new sex, because I'm like, new sex is whatever, because you gotta build that comfort level. Like, you can't tell them what you're really into when you first meet them, for the most part. And depending on what club you go to, but you can't really just, I'm all about the comfort levels.
I agree.
I think the time frame of relationships. See, people don't understand when you've been married for 5 years, 7 years, you can really dive in deep into really understanding that person. But if you just got really short relationships, a one night stand of casual sex, you typically can't go there because it's almost starting over with that person. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people might be open to do random things with strangers, but I learned he's 100% right. The more comfortable you might, hey, let's do this. And I don't think nothing's defiled between a man and a woman. I mean, between a husband and a wife. Like, whatever they want to do is no judgment. That's y'all guys. That's y'all business.
Hold on. Hold on. Just because I'm saying it don't mean I do it. It doesn't mean I don't do it, but doesn't mean I'm doing it. I'm just using a lot of
they're pretty descriptive.
You need to be careful with a lot of examples
words over there, Tim. You're painting a picture for sure.
I have heard a lot of things that I've never heard putting butter. in the booty. That was the first time I
No.
heard that. That was good. That was a good one.
He's very clever with his words, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
I
He's very
can't believe
clever
you
with his
said
words.
butter.
Of all the things, like
Maybe he had some parquet.
I guess, yeah.
You know, it was a discount. He's a coupon shopper. You know, he just said, "Hey,
He just read out a loop, man.
not whipped cream, butter. Like
I
who
just-
would have jumped to butter?
I
You
just
know?
know.
I
I
can't
just know
believe it's
I'm
not
not
butter.
gonna look at butter the same way ever again.
Ever.
Like when I go to make
Right.
eggs in the morning, that's gonna be the first thing that my head goes to.
But that says something about you, though.
Listen,
What does that say
listen.
about you?
You know the
No,
bad
I'm,
part
I'm
about
I think
it,
I'm
man?
ready for the
shocked.
next
I'm
subject.
shocked. I'm shocked. I remember things that shocked me a little bit.
all right."
Dang,
It is
look,
cute.
Good
Dang.
job, Damien.
Listen,
Good
Dang.
job.
You know how crazy that sounded? It made sense.
I hope your wife is watching this.
Listen.
She probably
For real,
is.
butter makes sense because you can get a solid,
Yeah, baby.
and once it warms up, it can turn into a liquid. It makes sense. Like,
Where are we going with this now?
Okay.
I
Your
don't
wife
know.
is looking for the refrigerator and see what she's got.
Yeah.
I'm so worried.
Subliminal advice.
Can I-
Like, why are we out of butter?
Oh,
My daughter
man.
gets up in the
Making
morning
baby
like,
batter.
never any butter.
That's the- I think
You're
we're
gonna have to
at
get the
move to next
Costco
subject
pack.
now.
Yeah.
Hey, as the
We got
parents
one
like
last?
slides into the bathroom. Oh man, Inky, your thoughts on anything, or you agree or disagree with? Well, do you disagree with parquet?
She looks like she's dairy free to me.
Parquet, margarine is only one molecule short of plastic, so I guess I would stick with the butter if I had to make a choice.
Mhm.
All right,
It's all
Fair
more
enough.
natural. But I
True
did want to
facts.
go back
There
and
you go.
revisit how sex and the corn on the cob industry, it also triggers the release of oxytocin and vasopressin. These hormones help lay down the long-term memories for cells that bind a person's memories to the object that gave him or her that pleasure. So that's what I was getting at. That hormone oxytocin is so very close to something that many people are very addicted to, and you get addicted to that feeling, that release, that feeling.
Well, no, and honestly, that's why I said there's a lot of like hormones and neurotransmitters that are involved. Like I think people know some of them. Yeah, right.
Dopamine, norepinephrine, oxytocin, the vasopressin, whatever that one is, endorphins, and serotonin.
That was very cute. I see the effort. A for effort.
I'm like vasopressin. It looks like Vaseline to me, but yeah.
Right.
Those are the 6.
Right,
So
and that's the thing.
Vaseline's a good butter alternative in certain
It's-
situations, right?
Not salted though.
It's no extra salted.
I feel like that would
Oxytocin and
burn. Sorry.
oxytocin and the Vasio one. It says over time, the
Oxytocin
craving for sex
and butter.
transfers into the desire.
Yo, who reading that on lady?
Okay. Here, let me. I was gonna say, let me copy this and I'll put it in the back chat real quick. It's not that long, but
so I was curious about this oxytocin, what you were saying, because what I was thinking of oxytocin, I was thinking like a warm, fuzzy type feeling type thing, right?
Yes.
And I know that it say that
I don't
this
know.
can be. I know it says that it can be released.
To me when you're having a baby.
Well, it depends. Well, no, I ain't gonna go there.
Appreciate you.
I'm not
Appreciate
gonna
you.
go there. But
No,
no,
I'm saying oxytocin. That it's kind of like what they give you, so you don't feel that pain when you're in labor and delivery, kind of thing.
Is that not epinephrine? Is
No.
that the same thing?
Epinephrine
No.
is what, like, that's like what they put in. What is it,
Never
like
be
the
a doctor,
fen or
you.
something?
Right. So
Okay,
that's
I'm
like
gonna
an
Google
EpiPen.
what
An
that
EpiPen
was.
is
That's a happy
epinephrine.
pill. Yeah,
Yeah.
My bad.
different.
Okay.
I put it
Yeah.
in the back chat if someone else wants, because I can't pronunciate those words. I was like, I don't know what that word is.
See, this is
Can
where my
I,
neuro part comes in. I'm like, oh, vasopressin.
Yeah. See there. Yeah, she got that part.
I wanted to add to what was being said about the two, like emotional versus the physical. Just to get back
Yes.
to the topic. I think that I agree with mostly everyone. It should be like a healthy mix. It is going to be dependent on your age. Another factor I think is super important which is kind of covered in the age thing, is your libido. But your libido can be different at different times of your development as a human. So that will definitely play into what somebody prioritizes in a relationship. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
All right, fair enough. Anybody else got any things to add or subtract? Because I think it's kind of. Go ahead, Sandra.
I was gonna say, I did want to say, like, I do kind of feel bad for like the men a little bit when it comes to your drive, because I actually like I had my hormones checked and I had like low testosterone for a woman, and so like I had to start the replacement therapy because it was low, and I kind of got a glimpse of what it's like for a man, and I'm like, oh, it's awful. So, yeah.
I'll trade you. Mine are too high.
No, like it spikes after you take it, like a lot. And
Yo,
then
what is too high, Inky?
My testosterone
like you'll
is
be
too high.
But mine was too low, and so just taking the therapy, and then you're literally scraping food into a dirty trash can, and you're still thinking about stuff. And I'm like, damn, this kind of sucks. So
makes you emotional.
Sorry, guys.
So hold on. So what you guys are saying is people with low testosterone is emotional,
more emotional,
and people with higher testosterone is less emotional.
It's controlled more.
Man, you just answered the questions of my life. I was wondering.
Ruby about to jump all over this. Go.
When your hormones are more balanced, it's easier to control your emotions, and she'll probably agree with that. When your hormones are out of balance, it's hard to control your emotions.
Yes.
Well, no, I just been trying to figure out why people are so emotional, and like people tell me I can't connect with them emotionally. I must just got too much testosterone. I just self-diagnosed myself.
You're just too manly for the room, E.
Oh, you know what?
That was very cute self-diagnosis there. Yeah.
Does that hold on, E? Does that make you a more masculine man though? Like,
I don't know about masculine. Just I got too much testosterone. I'm just start telling people, hey, it wasn't your fault. I just had too much testosterone.
Like you know, sex having a 12-inch cock, you know.
I think Ruby could probably answer this. If you have too much testosterone, does it make you more agitated?
Aggressive.
Yeah.
Aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Makes you a lot
definitely
more
aggressive.
Yeah. So, like, people think about like roid rage, for example, would be like a good example. Because often people are taking like cocktails, right? And testosterone is often in the cocktail, right? And so when you think about roid rage, when someone has an explosive, aggressive reaction to something, they want to punch a hole in the wall and put all their might into punching that hole or screaming, or, you know, they literally can't take the smallest little bit of insult because they've got to, you know, they got to square up with you, and they're doing the stuff that is making them, like, you know, they're spreading so that way they can look bigger, and sorry, you have something to say to me, bro? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like the really aggressiveness, your aggressiveness is coming from testosterone, right? So
would you describe being aggressive as emotional?
Yes. Well, no, not the aggressiveness part of it, but often there's an emotion behind the aggressiveness, right? So you might be angry, right? You might be frustrated. You might be offended. Like, those are all feelings. Normally, you have a feeling, and that feeling, how you deal with that feeling might be aggressiveness, right? Yeah. But why would you be aggressive? Like, no one's just aggressive, right? Like, they're not. There's a thought and a feeling attached to that aggressiveness.
There's a trigger,
mm-hmm.
and then it's the ability to be able to control that emotion.
So are y'all on the flip end of this? I just want to make sure, are y'all saying estrogen, high levels of estrogen makes you more emotional?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it does. Yes, it does, and it's awful. That's why I'm so glad that I'm getting that taken care of right now. It's terrible. You're sad. Everything will make you sad. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends. They say the word emotional, like, you know, like testosterone, again, testosterone does make you other types of like anger is a feeling, right? High estrogen doesn't really make you more angry. So yeah, I mean, certainly the sadness, the crying, the feeling out of control, overwhelmed,
irritability.
Irritability. It probably has a lot to do with that same feeling, like when a woman is pregnant, how she's like this.
So right. Ruby, what caused you just not to care? Like, you just like on that wave of your emotions not changing at all.
She's raised by supervillains.
He
No,
wants
I'm
that.
not
He wants
saying
that
her.
free. He wants some free psychology,
No,
some free therapy.
it's a reason I'm asking this question.
You better
Right?
take it to Fight Club, Dane.
No, like I think that I'm not talking about Ruby, but I'm really good.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter what people say. I can stay level. What do you think contribute to someone being level, not too emotional, not emotional enough, and can't have empathy or sympathy for other people?
Yeah, I was going to say, in order for you to be emotional, like up here, you have to care, right? So if you don't allow yourself to emotionally attach to what's being said to you, to the situation in front of you, to what's being presented, to what someone says about you or to you, then you're not going to have an emotional reaction, right? Because you haven't allowed yourself to emotionally attach and open up to that thing. So that thing can't hurt you, just like it can't bring you joy, right? And I mean, that could be, oftentimes people have these types of things based on like a trauma response, because when they were younger, maybe being open and allowing people in, there was negative consequences to it. But there are disorders that attach that. So for example, depression, people think of depression as being sad all the time. It's not. It's actually, when they say a depressed mood, it means a lack, like as in you're feeling less things. So you don't feel joy anymore. You don't feel fulfillment or happiness. You're not really feeling anything. It's almost like a numbness because you're not emotionally attached. And a less extreme version of depression is like dysthymia. And so you're not like depressed, right? But you're just kind of lacking emotional attachment to anything. You just don't really care. And that actually is like a disorder, right? A lot of people have it during the winter, because it can be attached to lacking vitamin D and sunlight and whatever. Or it can also be connected to B12 levels. So, I mean, there's reasons.
We will. So a person that would be still considered depression, even though it's not from a SAP view.
Well, depression is not about sadness. That's the thing that we think depression is, but from like a clinical standpoint, like evaluating depression, it has nothing to do with how sad you are. If you look at the DSM says, one of the key factors is a depressed mood for most days. And people think depressed mood means sadness, but it doesn't. It actually literally means like depressed. Like if I were to make this smaller, like I'm compressing it, right? So, normally we have a lot of feelings throughout the day. We might not express them, but we have feelings, right? We might get angry or sad or super excited, joy. And something that happens in depression is you stop feeling any of that. And the things that used to bring you pleasure, this is criteria number 2 that's necessary. The things that used to make you feel good and bring you pleasure, you don't feel anything. You don't hate them. You just don't feel anything. It's like a lack of feeling.
Yeah.
And that lack of emotion, we don't realize how much emotions drive human behavior. Without that emotion attached to it, whether you hate it or love it, it's very difficult to motivate yourself, because why, right? Like most of our motivation is because of feelings. So
I got you. You just equipped me to have this conversation with Mandrell. I know what he is now. I can't wait to talk to him.
Well, he in the chat. You just profiled
I'm sorry,
him.
Mandrell, in advance. I'm so sorry.
He'd be all right.
He don't care.
So, yeah, he really don't care. All right. I was on a podcast one time, and somebody felt like they wanted to assess me, and I thought it was not on me so much, but just the idea of conversation, because I didn't think people actually understood what is a masculine male or a feminine female or feminine male. Like I thought it was kind of odd. So in everybody's description, what is a masculine man? And is there a difference between the two of a male, female, both, or all types of gender?
I'll start.
All right, go ahead, Wes.
So oftentimes we hear the term toxic masculinity. A lot of people have tried to take masculinity itself and claim that the whole of it is toxic. In truth, both males and females, when we're born, we come into this life with a lot of our own energy, our own ability to create, our own ability to destroy. We just do it by different means. So there is good, healthy masculine energy, but there's also bad masculine energy, and the same for women. So we both create in different ways, and we both destroy in different ways. And what was the second part of your question?
Is there a difference between the two? Like,
Yeah.
what is masculinity, and is there a difference between the two?
Yes, there's definitively a difference between males and females. Like you will find exceptions to every rule. There will always be exceptions to the rules will always exist. But by and large, males and females are completely different. And probably the most tangible example I can give you is that most males are constantly thinking about the future in one form or another. They're one form or another. They're thinking about making the best possible futures. That could be living in squalor and working 80 hours a week to build some sort of an empire, or they could be saying, I just want to chill out. So they live small and they make enough money to pay their bills and have the fun that they want to have. But they're constantly thinking of the future. Females, on the other hand, usually seem to be thinking about having the best possible present. This is why they're saddled with so much student loan debt. They didn't think that far into the future.
Facts.
But see, when you get these two together, and this is how males and females balance each other out. When you get these two together, they're now, one is constantly making sure that they live a great pleasant. And this is something that, when you find people that are in a loving relationship, this is something that man will reflect that, hey, I'm living a beautiful life right now. It's a very comfortable present. And what he's providing to the woman is that they can continue that for the rest of their lives because he's building that future where they can maintain that comfort and maintain that beauty.
Okay. Dame. Hold on, I gotta ask Dame this because every time I see Dame on Spaces, he's seeing like the most cool, charismatic guy, and he actually disagrees with both sex pretty much often, but how he carries himself. So, does that make you a feminine man, Dame? You muted, sir. You're not masculine enough. You're not masculine enough.
The butter might make him a little feminine.
Yeah, Charlotte. So the butter thing was just an example. Don't get me wrong. Nobody's spitting butter mash. And if they were, there'd be no problem. I'd have no problem with it. But the thing is I don't know. I think both men and women both have.
Oh, what's that?
Somebody watching porn. Somebody's definitely watching porn.
No, butter's on somebody's mind. Butter is on somebody's mind. Yeah.
Somebody's like,
They want to say
I think
butter.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's both men and women both possess masculine and feminine traits. I think like I said, they're just a group of traits that people have. I think for most part, masculine is associated with domineering, strong. Those are the positive things. That's domineering, strong, leadership. Being like, I guess a generic term is alpha, where they're respected by their peers and things like that, or if they have the traits to accomplish things in life without worried about what people think about them and things like that. Feminine, I guess, it would be the opposite of all that stuff. Genteel, always concerned about what other people are thinking, always conscious of the way they're being viewed by society with something. I think both of them are just constructs to way to like pigeonhole people, masculine and feminine or what have you. In modern society, I think people are just kind of say, okay, you're masculine if you have this, or if you have achieved this, or what have you, or you're feminine as far as a man if you don't have this, or you don't have respect by other men. Other men don't want to be you or want to follow you, or you don't have you're not in a relationship where you're the obvious leader of the relationship. You might have more feminine traits or what have you. I just don't believe in, like, when you say I argue both points. Anytime men jump, like, women need to be in their feminine, or women, or I want a space where women are like saying women need to be men need to be masculine. I was like, basically what I think you're just looking for traits that you don't have in yourself. So that's
Jesus.
all.
My man Lily pulled up your name.
That's crazy.
Well, that's not my name, but
Yeah, he's trolling.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so West is definitely wrong, right? It's
On
no
the
such
name?
no, not on the name.
Okay.
Let me tell you what West is wrong on. So there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, and there's no such thing as toxic femininity. They don't exist. The person can be toxic, but being feminine or being masculine can't be toxic because it's only designed to do one thing. It is the qualities and characteristics that we identify as men, and feminine is the qualities and characteristics that you identify as a woman. I don't think that men are feminine and women are masculine. I don't think that happens. I think it's more of a deeper thing when it comes down to like what we was talking about earlier, testosterone. Testosterone ain't got nothing to do with being masculine, and estrogen don't have nothing to do with being feminine. Those are chemical balances that's causing you to react totally different. So I just disagree 100% with Wes, and I appreciate Wes so much for letting me tell him completely on why I disagree with him. I really appreciate that, Wes.
Fair enough. Shout out to the
Honestly,
podcast.
I think it's I think it's semantics. We're just defining it in drastically different ways, so our definitions are not matching up.
I think like
Sandra, and I'll let Inky go. Go ahead, Sandra, and I'll let Inky go.
okay. I was about to say I think like with masculine versus feminine, something that I know is it seems like just from what I've observed, men kind of can create or destroy outwardly, like physically, but but with women we have the power to create and destroy from within.
Yes.
That's just what I've observed. I've got a father who's very old school masculine, and yeah, he can create or destroy externally, whereas but like my stepmom, she's feminine, she can create or destroy from within.
But
that's why I think men have a hard time in court. They can't. That's not what they're geared for. Women are much better in a court situation because they're geared for more social, internal emotional situations.
And also that's why men are the strong frame and women are the image, the pretty picture that goes inside.
I heard someone say this. They said that this guy was feminine because he liked cooking, right? And I know Grey Pill love cooking. That's something he do. I think what we do, especially in this YouTube space, is we take things that everybody do and we try to make it feminine versus masculine versus actually just being a task. Cooking is a task, have nothing to do with being feminine or masculine. And that was the point that I was making. I think
it depends if you're cooking cake or cooking a steak.
Well, I
Does
think
it matter?
I'm just trolling.
I know.
When I say like create or destroy from within, like where I was going with it is I've noticed, okay, so say if we're going to take a look at like destruction in terms of toxic relationships, right? Men most of the time physically, like when they're toxic men, physically they tend to snap. But when you're a toxic woman, what does she do? She gets inside that man's mind and she breaks him down.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's wrong. Listen, like
disagree.
Yeah,
Who made that noise?
I was
That was a cool noise.
Oh,
like when I'm talking about like
straight up chicken.
So when women they initiate mutual comeback is what I call it. Are you saying that they do it inwardly, or are you saying that it's an outwardly thing?
Okay, so what I'm saying is like, so the physicality aspect of it, right? Who does more damage, a man or a woman? When it comes to physicals, but if a man really wanted to, if he really wanted to, like if we're being honest with common sense, 95% of the time, if the guy is getting smacked around by a girl, it's usually because he's letting her and he's not hitting her back. Like I'm 5'10" and I'm over 2 bills. I'm the size of the average man, and I know that.
Don't go to
but
Brooklyn.
With women,
hey, I'm telling you, like those women when I say they're built different,
the men will still do more damage.
But the men will still though, and we're talking like kind of I guess as a general here, but like with women, how I see in general, because a lot of them don't really have the physical power to do that much damage. Like a lot of them don't. If we're being real, there's differences between us biologically. It's how we are. But for like women, I've noticed where they really harness their power is they like to get into the man's mind. And that is how, and that is how they slowly break them down, because there's a reason why the suicide rate is higher for men than it is for women.
All right, Inky.
It's 8 times higher because,
hold on, we'll let Inky go, then on Neve, because she's taking pretty notes. I know it.
I have to agree with Sandra as far as women do have their ways of manipulating, and that's how I look at it as women. If you're trying to get into a guy's head, that's a way of manipulation. It should be something that's more mutual, that you agree on, not, oh, well, let me do this to get him to a certain type of place. Sex don't do it either, ladies. Just letting you know.
Inky, you don't think manipulation is a human characteristic? See, I don't think that's feminine or masculine, because I know men, like I hear women say, I got tricked, he manipulated me, think that I was in love with him and we had sex. So manipulation
it can go both ways.
Yeah, that's a
do
human
men
element.
manipulate other men, or do they, if as a response to something, hold on a second, as a response, do men first response to manipulate other men or to physically do something to a dude? If I get you upset, is your first response to punch me in the face or try to figure out some way where you can fuck with my mind?
Depends on where you are on the hierarchy.
I was going to say, because men normally take it to the violent more than they do.
I'm talking about the first thing. Yes, men are capable. Each person is capable of both sexes are capable of both things. But I'm just saying, men's go-to is to physically dominate you in some.
I was going to say, there's this. I think men are more physical dominating than women. They will take it to a physical level before they try to mentally manipulate you.
Yeah,
unless except for in like a situation where he's trying to get in your head to get in your pants, but he's not really trying to connect with you on that level.
I just think, go ahead.
That was all.
Okay.
I don't know what
I'm waiting for my turn.
I'll let you. Yeah,
I'm being good.
All right, go ahead, B. Let me read some of the, I don't know what's going on in chat real quick, so let me update that real quick. Shout out, let me respond to Simon. Shout out to Simon. I appreciate you in the chat. Again, you must be new, because anybody that knows me, I do personal invites, and everybody that's on this panel, minus Neve, because I see Neve on the panel, so I understand she can actually conduct herself on the panel. And Sandra, I seen her on another platform. She knows how to conduct herself. Eda Man, businessman, know how to conduct herself on the panel. Ruby is my host. Dame has his own channel, know how to conduct herself on the panel. Wes is a regular panelist, know how to conduct herself on the panel. I don't just bring anybody on my platform, just be bringing anybody on my platform. So again, I appreciate everybody in the chats. That's literally me, period. So thank you in the chat. Mandrill, you got a link, so whenever you come up, because I know this might go a little bit overtime, so when Wes, whatever, if you feel the you want to dip out, might be a little bit later than sooner, we're good. So I don't know, Wes might get some parquet, butter, margarine, I don't know, Charmin's, Jergens. Shout out to Bronzebird, appreciate you, man. I don't know, I'm gonna try to work out for Thursday, Bronzebird, but I'm gonna try to schedule what we talked about for next week, where we're gonna have a all around the clock, all pills community on the Grey Pill podcast. So we might do that once a month, how I got it worked out, since all the pills got stuff to say. So we're going to make Grey Pill podcast like a center. That's pretty much the focal point of that. So we're going to have the blue pill, the grape. Well, where's the grape pill? We got the blue pill. We have the red pill. We got the black pill. And I think a white pill. We have 2 pick me. So I appreciate Angela Knight for saying she suggests some people in that realm. They're not going to be considered as pick-me's, but you know, these weird spaces on YouTube. You're single, you're not married, you're a pick-me. You know, you cook, and you're a man, you're feminine. That's all I got. Shout out to Amazon. So she was laughing with something. Angry Ginger was saying they're going back and forth. So I appreciate y'all guys. And the last one is these generalizations are killing me. Of course. Welcome to the world we live in. All right. Anybody else had anything to say? I think it was like Neve or no Ruby. I'm sorry, Ruby.
No, I think it was Neve. Neve, you said was next.
And I hear crickets. I'm gonna mute your mic.
Sandra, mute.
She's gonna give it the
Oh my god.
tour.
I usually don't hear the crickets until after I stop speaking.
Right?
Okay. So I think like I don't know. I'll give you a pretty abstract view on masculinity. I think that masculinity and femininity are separated by priorities. Like if we ignore physical characteristics, which you shouldn't, I think priorities can be broken down into like women ultimately caring more about like emotional safety versus men caring more about physical safety. But another trait that I think about when I think about men is I think about initiative, and this isn't always the case. But if you think about the act of aggression, that's initiating like a physical altercation. Men propose, that's initiative. Um, like men are always put in positions where they are expected to act first. But yeah, I think that the difference primarily being priorities. And then I just wanted to address Sandra, but I don't know if she's listening. I think going back to the manipulation and the correlation she made between women being manipulative and men um, unaliving themselves. I think that the like we won't call it toxic masculinity. I guess we could call it like negative behavior in the of the male sex. I don't believe in toxic masculinity. I actually believe in what you said. That if you say things like toxic masculinity, you're actually just giving the people who are genuinely toxic a big thing to hide behind because we can just disregard it, and these people are largely going to go unchecked. Going back to that, there's a lot of banter that happens between men, and sometimes that banter makes it difficult for men to be open and honest about the way they feel. um, Going back, like men don't really prioritize emotional safety as much, so things that are regarded as like not necessarily helpful, that's not really the best word, but you could say like things like self-care. If a man is like really open about his self-care, like that can be characterized as feminine. Things like medication can be characterized as self-care because you are not necessarily like you are addressing a disparity in your body, but there's also an expectation for you to just deal with it. So I think that in by and large men consider dealing with your mental issues with medication rather than just like working out as generally feminine. And because there is such a big stigma on men using antidepressants to address their mental issues, that's actually what's leading to the high rate of men unaliving themselves. And I think that if we want to fix that, then we have to have a more honest and open dialogue about what the how much are you willing to do to make yourself feel good, and at what cost do you genuinely care about what other people think about you taking medication, or is your well-being more important?
Enough. You got to work on the audio thing. I don't know why it's still fading in and out. I was going to ask earlier, was you using a Yeti?
Yeah, it wasn't this way yesterday, but it seems to be that way now, which is super annoying.
It is a Yeti?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to have that bad boy like there because it goes from it's 3 settings like here, wide, or around. So whatever your setting is, you got to have it there for you when you're talking.
Was any of that listenable? Like, was any of that?
We caught most of it. I caught. Well, I can't say we. I caught most of what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the most important thing that I wanted to say, just tell me if you can't say it, hear it, was that I think that if we want men to stop unaliving themselves, then we need to stop judging the things that men need to do to be well, like taking medication.
I agree with that. Anybody else?
Ruby, don't you miss my girl Ruby. Ruby been waiting
Yeah.
patient.
Thank you.
Come on, Ruby. She always has something amazing to say.
Right? And it's like Gray Pill just ignored, like he's like anyone else, I guess. Like no invitation. It's fine though. It's cool. Don't worry about it. I got you.
That's okay. Just put him in timeout.
You ready, Ruby? You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right,
I've been
go
waiting
for
my
it.
whole life for this moment. Yes.
I swear that's not me.
It is not me.
That's
That's-
Wes.
E.
Do you see that? That was Wes. Look
Not
how-
me at all.
You know
Who
what?
wants
I
to
believe
hear
it's
from
E
either
or
man?
Wes, one or the other. Yeah.
You're doing slot machines, butter, corn. Like I don't know what's going on.
I don't even,
Well, that's
yeah,
not me.
it's for
Yeah,
sure not me.
I'm muting you, Sandra, because I know you're on your phone, so that might be you. So
No,
if
it's
you're not
not.
It's
talking,
Wes.
No, someone's
Is that
intentionally
Sandra?
doing it.
Is
No,
you
that's
for real,
not
Wes?
me.
It's between Wes and E. What are these
That's
two?
not me.
I'm
Wes. It's Wes. He got that dumb smirk in his face. It's Wes.
Yeah, exactly. Because he
I'm like,
So
dead.
you
Look at him.
muted me for no reason. That's nice.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry. I apologize. Look at that. You making me screw my guests over. My new
Right?
guest. You know,
God,
no
Wes.
bad impressions.
Just
I
trying to-
apologize.
I don't even know how to
Put a
set up
little
my own
extra.
mic properly, so it's probably not.
Right?
That is a lot better though. It's a lot better now.
Well,
All right, cool.
It is,
Angela's-
yeah.
So
All
hit
right,
us, Ruby.
Ruby.
It's
Okay.
about midnight for me, so I need to take off.
Oh,
I'm getting ready to pass out anyway,
Fine,
so it's
fine.
not like I'm much good after this. So
true facts.
Thanks, Wes.
All right. Do you have any
I'm
final
going to
thoughts?
miss most of you. Going to miss most of
Bruh.
you. Okay.
Thanks. It was good to see you, Wes.
Thanks.
Good to
Love
see
you,
y'all.
Chip.
Bye.
Yeah.
Night all.
Later.
Okay, so can you repeat the question, please? Just the two questions.
The question was sex, no sex. Was it? Yeah, sex, no sex, emotional connection versus physical connection. That's what it
What?
was.
No,
I'm sorry.
so-
It was.
No,
Go ahead. I'm
it was
sorry.
the
That was what
masculinity
he was
and
asking.
femininity.
Thank you. I apologize.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
totally lost on the question. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. What is masculinity? What is masculinity, and is there a difference?
Is there a difference of what?
Masculinity and femininity.
Oh,
Male
okay.
and female.
Okay. So yeah, because my notes, I'm not really great at taking notes, and they're not helpful at all. So okay.
Notes.
Can I add one thing?
I got
that
lost.
Ruby to answer? Is
Go
it a
ahead.
such thing as a toxic masculinity or toxic femininity?
Yes.
Look at you. I was just about to answer that question. Actually, it's
thank
literally
you.
the first thing I was going to say, because it's the only thing I took notes on, and then I forgot I was taking notes. And,
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So yes, toxic masculinity is a thing. Toxic femininity is also a thing. And so to be clear, and I don't care how anyone else on planet Earth has used this or misused the terminology to try to make all men wrong or all something wrong. I don't care. Toxic masculinity is not about functional masculinity. It's not about men and things that are normal to men, right? That's not actually what it's about. What it's about is about normalizing actually toxic or harmful behaviors,
Amen.
and saying that they're masculinity when they're not, right? So like a really mild example, just to give you an example, is some young men. It's normally you see this in the younger demographic, right? So teens and young adults, right? So some young men have no idea how to truly be confident, right? They don't know how to be confident. They don't know how to stand in their own. They don't know how to self-actualize, and they're incredibly insecure, right? But they want to be confident men. That's what they want. So what they do is they then become incredibly aggressive and arrogant, right? But aggressiveness and arrogance is not masculinity, right? They're just putting on these negative traits because it's the closest they can get to enable or embodying something that they know that they want to be as men. Right. Another thing that is toxic masculinity would be men getting into groups of, young boys and men getting into groups, right? And they want to be considered masculine. They want to be considered real men, right? They don't want to be called gay or feminine or whatever. And they don't have positive male role models to demonstrate for them what those things are. And so they can then be led astray pretty easily, right? So you have one douchebag in the group that tells them basically that assaulting people, assaulting women, assaulting whatever is the way to go. And we're all going to do it together as a group because we're men. Now, what happens, you can't back out because you back out, you're not a man, you're a girl. If you back out, well, then you've got the other thing between your legs, not the right thing, or whatever, right? Or you're gay, or like and so then it becomes this thing where it's like, oh well, we're going to, in essence, use masculinity against these young boys and young men, the concept of masculinity, the concept of being a man, of being a good man, right? Against them, and weaponize it against them to kind of get them to engage in some type of negative behavior that the ringleader wants to engage in, right? Under the guise of masculinity, because these young boys and these young men have no idea what that really means or how they can affect it. And again, toxic femininity, to be clear, same thing, only we're talking about women trying to enact femininity without any real concept of what it means, how to do it. And you can shame women in the same way. So while there certainly obviously is a difference between men and women, and I think that all research, brain studies, stuff like that would let you know. Also, if we just look at historically 10,000 years ago in hunter-gatherer societies, we know that men and women are complementary, but they did different things. And based on that, they evolved different strengths and weaknesses, right? So for example, men evolved dead reckoning. It's an ability to, doesn't matter how much of a twisty path I took you on to get to a point, you'd be able to get back home with the straightest line possible. It's like a male dominated thing, right? The male hippocampus is larger than women's. It doesn't mean that women can't strengthen their sense of direction over time and work to become really great at it. But it's not something they naturally have, right? It's something that men naturally have, or women, for example. And this is why cooking and gathering, when it comes to picking berries and stuff, was the woman's job. Well, it's because women actually evolved the ability to not only see more colors and see more differences between colors, right, but also to taste more things. So that's very useful when, you know, there's no grocery stores and stuff like that. And you have to be able to see the difference between a red berry and a slightly orange berry, because the orange ones are toxic and poisonous and the red ones not so much. Or you need to be able to very clearly see the difference between the berry and the leaves behind the berries, right? So, you know, we know therefore women were gatherers, right? Because they were able to see that. We know that women were oftentimes the ones who were deciding whether or not even like a meat or something that the men had brought home from a hunt, were deciding whether or not that was poisonous for the rest of the group to eat and to prepare. And that's why women, and don't seem to know this, but women are actually better at starting a fire and maintaining a fire than men are. Again, not that you can't learn any of these skills, you can. We're talking about what we just naturally evolved to do 10,000 years ago, right? We evolved to work the best together to be able to feed our young, feed ourselves, and to be able to, you know, survive and multiply. That's really what it comes down to. And a lot of times I hear in these spaces, we're talking about like women, like what women evolved to do is just, you know, give birth, and men basically evolved to do everything else. And, you know, that's just categorically not true. And also, which is important to note, is that like historically, we can just look and see that men and women have been very complementary, even in times where they tried to make women just barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. That's it. That's all you do. Right? That's something they enforced, and they enforced that. They created that. That's not like a normal thing. That's a very short period of time recently that they enforced in the Western world to do what? So that way less men, in essence, were incels. More men were able to have wives. That's why they enforced that, just so we're all clear. But the thing is that they did that. But you can look and you can see that, hey, men might have invented this, but oftentimes women invented some part of that thing. So whether we're talking about the internet, the computer, the telephone, the whatever, right? Men and women invented pieces of these technologies that came together to give us the modern world that we have today. So, and again, because we're complementary, right? Men and women do see the world slightly differently. Men see the world big picture. Women see little details, right? We know these things, and we know that humans are best when we're working together because we have different inherent strengths. So,
all right, fair enough. Mandra, I appreciate you coming on through, man. I'm glad the show was interesting enough to keep you awake and canned up. You must be doing my job well, sir.
Yeah, I actually got up and put some clothes on. All right,
Was
man.
it?
All right, man. I'm up. I'm awake. I'm up now.
Was this after the butter conversation, or you know?
I don't know what the butter conversation
Oh,
is.
forget the butter. Forget the butter.
We're not gonna go there then. All right. So, what's your thoughts? What Ruby said, and also the question of topic of conversation is what is masculine? What is a masculine man or woman, and is there a difference?
There's a difference between a masculine man and a masculine woman. Women aren't masculine, no matter how much they try to be. They can imitate as best they can. They're never going to be masculine. You know, that's just some things that body chemistry and society, they're going to guide you a certain way. There's no way around it. You can be as masculine of a woman as you want, but there's still going to be femme there.
That's what causes the toxic.
You know what I'm saying? But there's still going to be femme there. I mean, is there toxic masculinity? No, that's just a guy being a jerk. There's nothing masculine about it. And then to Ruby's point, when she was saying, you know, some guys, you know, in the community or whatever, take a kid and say, hey, you got to do this. You know, this is what a man does. You can't take your idea of what masculinity is and impose it on a boy and say that's toxic masculinity. No, it wasn't masculinity to begin with. Those are some guys who are trying to manipulate a little child. That's not masculine. Manipulation is not masculine in that under those circumstances. So if it was not masculinity to begin with, it can't be toxic masculinity because masculinity is not toxic. Neither is femininity. There's nothing toxic about a femininity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, if you're feminine, then hey, that's a beautiful thing. To me, you know, I like seeing it around, but that's not femininity is not toxic, neither is masculinity. People can mask things and call it what they want. Well, a real woman does this, a real woman does that. I mean, but if you don't know what femininity is, who are you to say?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, those are just people who are exercising bad behavior. Piss poor behavior in most cases, but it's not masculine. If you want a good reference is to read some of the Stoic philosophers. That's masculinity. How you navigate the world, your ability to control your emotions and navigate the world while controlling your emotions and using them in the best way possible under whatever circumstances you're in. There's some circumstances where aggression is necessary. Most circumstances it's not, but you have to be able to tell the difference. You know, like you manipulating a child and manipulating someone into saying, "Well, you should do this because it's masculine." That's not masculinity. I mean, so masculinity can't be toxic here.
I think that was very well said, by the way.
I think Ruby was saying that it happens, and you're saying that if that's happening, that specific example isn't masculinity. But wouldn't that not disprove her point? Because the point she was trying to make is that it just happens, right?
Yeah, well, and it's not masculinity.
What I'm saying is toxic masculinity is not really a thing. If it's not masculinity, how can it be toxic?
Well, no, because that's it's toxic behavior trying to mimic what they would like to dominate. Like they want to display masculinity. They want to. They have no idea how to reach it, often because they don't have positive role models. Right. So what happens is they use often a really toxic negative behavior as a proximity or proximal way of
I get what you I'm tracking.
Right?
I'm tracking.
So masculinity itself is not toxic, right? But toxicity can come from, and I say again, it's the same thing for toxic femininity, right? But you can also manipulate people into bad behaviors as a group, these young people up and coming, because they desperately want to be seen as masculine, right? As men, as this, as that. They want to be seen as those things. And you can manipulate them if they don't have the right role models into doing bad things in the name of trying to be masculine, right? So toxic masculinity has nothing to do with real masculinity or real masculinity being toxic, because it's not, right? Just like real femininity is not toxic at all, right? The toxicity is something we would all agree probably is toxic behavior. I think it's just people started using this terminology incorrectly and started weaponizing it against men. And then suddenly
they're
everything
using it as an excuse.
That's exactly what it is, Ruby. And they're using that as a way, as an excuse to either justify or define piss poor behavior and say, "Oh, it's toxic masculinity." So, by doing that, you're not really blaming or addressing the root cause of the issue. The root cause of the issue is a jerk off doing jerk off things. But when you do this, when you label something toxic masculinity, what people hear, it's a man problem. Or if I say toxic femininity, I'm blaming women. That's what people hear. You know what I mean? So, and maybe I'm arguing semantics in some people's point of view, but what I'm saying is like what we label things, if we're going to give something a title, we have to be careful, what we're giving what title, because toxic masculinity, it's going too far. People saying this stuff. Toxic femininity, in my opinion, is going too far. Listen, why don't you blame that individual for the toxic behavior that they're displaying? Let's just leave it at toxic behavior instead of toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. No, that person's a jerk. So let's just say that person's a jerk. And let's leave it there.
And I have to agree with you. And it's what it is it's their lack and their inability to be accountable for their actions. So they're putting a tag on it saying, I'm just toxic. I'm just a toxic masculine, or I'm just a toxic feminine.
There you go. Yeah, it's a good scapegoat, though.
Don't think so, because that implies accountability.
No,
I don't think so at all.
It's not the terminology. People create terminology, right, to explain phenomena that are already occurring. So that way we have a common language, right? So because just being a jerk does not necessarily explain what's happening when you have a young man who had no role models at all.
But that's again making an excuse.
Arrogant and aggressive and violent. No, it's not about an excuse. It's explaining what's happening, because ultimately, if we want to have a solution to a problem, we have to understand what the problem is. And just saying they're a jerk or they're toxic, as though every type of jerk or every type of toxic, every type of asshole, whatever it is, right? They're all in the same category. They're not, right? That's why you get common language that labels this very specific type of behavior that we're seeing, right? And it's all has a specific underlying cause. And then what we do, then we find solutions, right? We find ways, how do we target that type of behavior and fix it to make it better? Because
we don't
we're not
have to
taking
fix
people
it.
and throwing them away.
Fix it. It's not our job to fix it. It's
no, society does. Society does. Yes.
Because you're making us all accountable for someone else's actions. And that's
yes,
not
we
fair.
are all accountable for the children we raise and for the dysfunction that we create in these children.
But Ruby,
so
I can't spank if I were to ever have children, I can't spank them. I can't raise my voice at them. I can't, discipline in the way that I see fit, because the government wants to get in the way of that. So my thing is, listen, I'm not following those rules if I have a kid, Dane. Don't worry. Don't worry. I believe in that.
Ain't nobody in your house.
Right. I believe in that. I'm saying, I believe in that. So my thing is, the way what society is doing,
they're making excuses.
They are making excuses for children. Let's find out what the problem is. Okay, let's do that. Let's find out what the problem is. But I got the medicine too. If it's built, is the medicine for it? That's what the kid's gonna get. If it's a good talking to, that's what the kid's gonna get. The punishment got to fit the crime. I agree with that. But they want to take things off the table.
Yes, because they need to. Because guess what? Abusive people who abuse their children and were given carte blanche to abuse their wives and children or whatever, right? That was a problem. Now, is it problematic that we're going to take away rights from totally responsible parents who would never beat their kids in anger, who would only use corporal punishment very specifically and da-da-da? Yeah, right. But guess what? The people that we're protecting, by and large, are the majority of the people who were experiencing corporal punishment, because it wasn't just punishment that was organized and just about discipline and whatever. It was often parents venting out their anger and frustration on their children. And then, God forbid, if drugs or alcohol or something else came into the picture, right? And so we have to recognize that when they're making societal rules, we're making societal rules not to try to, restrain the really great parents. We're looking at it, and the fact is the majority are not these really great parents that we're talking about that are beating their kids to begin with. And honestly, most of those great parents that are still great parents and believe in corporal punishment, guess what? They still discipline their children. They spank their children and whatever. And guess what? No one's gone to jail. Everything's fine because they raise their children with discipline.
People
right?
have gone to jail.
Yeah, people have gone to jail. And most of the people who have gone to jail should go to jail. The very large majority of the ones who go to jail should go to jail.
The reason Sandra, go ahead, Neve.
Okay, so Pinky, I just wanted to tell you the reason I disagreed because it's a little different. I do agree with the individualistic approach, like we should just be addressing the behavior, but in the way the word is used, it's applied to like a mass, but it's not applied by the individual to themselves. So that's why I disagree with you, because you were saying that they're veiling their own behavior in the word toxic masculinity. And I think that it may seem like semantics as well, but I think it matters because that would imply a degree of accountability, which just isn't there.
That's what I'm saying, is that the person themselves need to be accountable for their own behavior. Now, I understand what Ruby is saying. As a whole, the children are being raised a type of way, which in turn, now as adults, they are behaving a type of way. But what I'm saying is, if it starts at home and the parents are accountable for their behavior of raising their children the right way, it has to stop somewhere. It has to stop with the people that are raising the children to help the children grow in their proper, I don't want to offend anybody, but in the proper way, where they're not being confused and they're not acting out in aggression and they're not being, what is the word you're using? Toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. You know, okay. So for instance, in a situation that I was in, coming from an abused situation, the gentleman was abusive to his significant other, which was me, because he was raised in an environment where he watched his father abuse his mother. So he learned that bad behavior. He didn't learn healthy masculine behavior. He thought healthy masculine behavior was to dominate and control and abuse if you didn't listen, right? So if I didn't bow down to his behavior, one, if I got upset about it and I'm crying, now I need to toughen up my skin and become more masculine like a man? No. That's what he was wanting me to do. So that makes it to where it starts confusing me in my masculinity or my femininity. No, women should be, I believe, more feminine, which doesn't necessarily mean squishy, but softer, more enduring, and more nurturing, like Ruby says. Where men don't have to, we had this conversation last stream, men don't have to control and abuse and to try to dominate somebody. They can still be masculine without all of that behavior and toxicity.
But see, hold on, because I don't want to skip Sandra. Go ahead, Sandra.
I was about to say, I think like when a man's truly masculine, like when a man is masculine and he has it right, like not the abusive behavior, not the controlling behavior, but like the leadership behavior of, hey, I want to take you to a nice restaurant, make sure you wear something nice, like do something with your hair, put some makeup on, you know, like basically kind of given that sort of leadership, I guess, instruction manual before they take you out, like real masculine men, like what my father is. Okay. Real masculine men have no problem pulling femininity out of a woman. It's when I think when a man's like truly a masculine man and not an abusive man, it's kind of, it's a dance, really. Like you have no problem with pulling feminine energy out of a woman. Because it's so natural. And I think like women we have discernment. We do have a level of discernment where we can pick up on that, you know?
But see, that's command versus man. You can pick up on it because you were born and raised into it, right? But a lot of people who weren't born and raised with either
don't make
both
assumptions.
Parents,
I grew up around some very emotional
you said
men.
it.
Don't
you
make
literally
assumptions.
said that. I'm not making assumptions. You literally said my father was like that. So
my father, but there's other men in my life too, not just my dad.
So, but again, you literally brought up your father. So I'm just repeating what you said, right? Whereas in a lot of people that have no idea, it's because they didn't have a father, not even like their own father. They didn't have a stepfather, they didn't have a father, or they didn't have a mother on the other side, or what they saw from that male role model wasn't that. It wasn't leadership, right? It wasn't commanding, and so therefore it was demanding. It was, more and more and more control, or more and more and more abuse, or disrespect, or other types of things until they got what they wanted, or whatever, right? And so the problem comes in when people don't have the accurate role models, because they want these things. Generally, we're kind of made to want these things. So we want these things, but if you don't know how to accomplish them, right? And you also don't know what normal or healthy looks like, then you're a lot more likely, unfortunately, to engage in things that are less healthy and less functional and less productive, because you don't really know how to get from what you want to enacting it, right? And this is where, again, the toxic concept comes from. It's from people who oftentimes start off with perfectly great intentions. It's not that they want to be toxic. They don't want to be dysfunctional. They don't want to even be the things that they end up doing. They don't want to be abusive. They don't want to be arrogant. They don't want to be disrespectful. They don't want to treat women like trash. And in fact, a lot of them start off by saying the exact opposite, but they don't know how to get from where they are to what they want. And that's when the toxic behaviors start coming in, because all they do is they find some idiot, often online these days, who tells them that this is what they're supposed to do. This is what real men do. And how are they supposed to differentiate between functional leadership and non-functional leadership when they weren't born and raised with it?
See, but that's the problem. And I think the problem in this space, and it's not to Ruby, is that we think that a man is really masculine versus fakely masculine. No, all men are masculine. All men are masculine. Now, when we start talking about unhealthy traits, they have nothing to do with masculine versus feminine. If a person is toxic, the person is toxic. Their masculinity is not toxic. Those things are two different things. They're not the same. And so when I hear people say, oh, he tried to be aggressive have nothing to do with being masculine. Well, he was trying to be an aggressive man, not a masculine man. And even when you put in your statement that, hey, he's trying to be masculine, that means that individual don't have the proper definition of what masculine is. Exactly. Masculine is only a characteristic of being a man. All that other stuff is just toxic in the person. And I think we have to find a way to separate the two, because the person can be toxic, but that doesn't make him less masculine or feminine because of that, because his body parts, his DNA didn't change. He's still masculine and have the characteristics of a man.
Right. But that's the whole thing. If we didn't have established gender roles, and we didn't have, again, and this is where, and I don't agree with feminism. For anyone who knows me, I'm actually pretty anti-feminism, right? But when they talk about the patriarchy, right, and the patriarchy being something that oppresses both men and women, this is part of what that is, because there's a very strict definition of what masculine, what maleness, right, what manhood means under the patriarchy. And if you fail to uphold that, if you fail to meet that, then you are failing as a man. I do think that that's a really toxic message to send to boys and men to begin with. But as long as that's kind of like the prevailing concept of what gender is, right, then you're going to have the majority of young boys and young men wanting to live up to that. And also the majority of parents wanting to help their kids live up to that, because no one wants their kid to be a failure. No one wants their kid to stick out in the wrong way. No one wants their kid to not be successful in dating and relationships and in life. Right. So that's what the problem is. It's not the fact that people want to define masculinity and maleness. It's that it's already a standard. There's already this very strict, very limited standard that everyone is trying to live up to. It's already there.
But doesn't that standard come from biology, though?
No, mostly not.
So, like, isn't it expected for a man to like be strong and hold frame and be a provider and be a protector? Because that's not
that's
isn't that based on biology?
Not anymore.
No. Well, I mean, we're the same machines that we were 10,000 years ago. Aren't we still the same machines today that we were 10,000 years ago?
Well, yeah, we stopped evolving 10,000 years ago, but we didn't have money 10,000 years ago. Right? What we're chasing is different, right?
Money is a new currency, but we're still the same. We're still the same machines that we were.
We serve different functions. The thing is, we serve different functions now. Okay, the world's nowhere near the same as it was 10,000 years ago, at all. You know. Ruby just said we have currency now, but we have. But there's still certain things
about our biology that we just won't.
There's certain things about our biology. You're correct, but we do have to serve different functions. Like, it was much more simple back then. Today, each person in the relationship or marriage, they have to serve many different functions. You can't stop at just provide and protect. You live that too. You're gonna have to help her clean that house sometimes. You live that too. Some nights you're gonna have to cook. But yes, fellas, learn how to cook.
hello, before we move, I need Ruby, can you define masculinity for me? Like, what does that mean?
Well, masculinity, according, and again, in modern times, right? What does masculinity mean? It means adhering to the gender roles and expectations that we put on men in this society. That's what
why we
masculinity
disagree.
means.
Okay, that's why we disagree. Because what I realized is we had different definitions of masculinity, and you said this about gender roles. So if a woman was doing the gender roles of a man, that means that she's masculine.
Yeah, that's where have you been? Yes, that's literally. Do you not?
Right, let me hold on.
Women aren't allowed to be aggressive, right? Women aren't allowed to be. Me just talking right now would be called me. I'm being masculine. That's what they would say.
That's what they would say. And again, to be fair, I will also, and this is my opinion. I agree with Damon's about this the societal construct. But let me see if I can put a pin on it. We can see if we can agree or disagree on this one. The term just the masculine male. The term masculine male refers to a person who embodies qualities, behaviors, and characteristics that are traditional associated with masculinity within a particular culture or societal context. These traits can vary across cultures and time periods, but they often include attributes such as strength, assertiveness, confidence, independence, and a focus of physical prowess.
And they said nothing about biology.
Yeah, I'm looking. Now, if we want to go further down the line,
there's a difference between masculinity and you being the male sex.
Yes,
and femininity, and you being the female sex.
Very much so.
The confusion starts, and why Gray Pill addressed it that way is because in today's society, there is really no defined male, masculine, female, feminine, because now it's so either way. Women grew into a role of masculinity behaviors, and men grew into a role of femininity behaviors.
Yeah, because even in chat, and I'll just say this because I want to address this earlier when everybody was getting that point of that. There's the title, The Real Man, right? So why do people use that term? Always fail to define it. I can actually argue the same thing. Like shout out
gray
to
area now,
bruh. I can even, which is triggering me a lot. So I can even say the same thing for as when Matt Walsh did the whole documentary, like What is a Woman? So again, it's like tit for tat.
Yeah,
well, I didn't define it because define a woman. Well, I didn't define it because to me it has nothing.
Well, we're still on masculinity, but I just kind of threw that out there. I guess somebody was like responding to somebody said, so I just
no, he's responding to me because it said later, what is a real man, Ruby? So, and that's what I'm saying. To me, the reason why I didn't define it because it has nothing to do with what I think a real man is. It has nothing to do with what you or anyone on this panel thinks a real man is, right? When I'm talking about this toxic behavior, it has nothing to do with anything except for the people who are engaging in the behavior and what they feel, what they want, what they desire to become, and the societal pressures that are put on them to try to obtain this. And that's why I say it is defined by the patriarchy. It's defined by society and what society is determining, right? So here's how you can become a real man. Here's what your definition of real man is. Here's what masculinity really is. Here's that. And anything less than that, you are lesser. You're feminine, you're this, you're that, like all the negative names that, you're constantly striving to not be called. You don't want to be those things, right? So you're trying to at least get to that benchmark. And unfortunately, that allows for a lot of room for, again, like I said, when you don't have any of those role models of you engaging in negative behaviors because you think it approximates the behavior you would like to be, or it allows you to be, again, when you don't have male role models, it allows you to engage in negative behaviors under threat of shame and being ostracized for not being man enough.
But Ruby, I have a question. Mm-hmm. So even if you do have male role models, mm-hmm. and the person, say for instance me, and we'll use you as my parent, okay? Or we could do it the other way around because you're the young little babies. Okay, say I'm the parent, you're the young one, right? And I've had this little hiccup recently, and this is a question I want to address you when we're all done with this panel chat. Okay, so for instance, say I'm your mom and you want to wear jeans and t-shirts. And I'm like, oh, and you want to cut your hair off. And I'm like, but Ruby, that's not very feminine. And you tell me, but I don't want to be feminine. I'm a boy. And I'm like looking at you going, honey, no, genetically, you're a female. How would I address this issue? Like, as a parent going, I'm setting a role model, you know, not that I put on a bunch of shit on my face and make, sorry, excuse my French, a bunch of stuff on my face to make me feminine on a daily basis, but the way I carry myself, you know, in a feminine type of way, but yet the child's not picking up the cues.
We have different belief systems when it comes to trans people. So therefore, I don't think we can really have that discussion. Because to me, first of all, I was a huge tomboy. Like when I say tomboy, I mean,
oh
like,
no, so was I. I gained my,
so when I look at pictures,
femininity at 26.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Why
So
did
when
you
look at
feel like
pictures
you
of me
needed
when I
to
was a
turn your
child-
camera off to have this discussion?
Me? This
Yeah,
is
I
why.
think that's weird.
This is why, because I don't want to upset Grey Pill.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was.
It's respect for his panel.
Okay.
Yeah.
my bad.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So for me, right, I want to wear clothes that allowed me to do the things I like to do, and the things I like to do tended to be things that the boys were doing, whatever, right? It was never confusing to me. I was always very much a girl, and it actually would make me cry when people thought I was a boy, despite the fact that objectively I can see why now. Like as an adult looking at pictures of me and stuff, and even knowing at the time, you would have thought, well, I should know people would confuse me for a boy, but it never occurred to me that they would or they should. And anytime they did, I would be devastated by it because I was a girl. There's no question in my head. There was like one time, I think I was like 7, and I wanted to be a boy because I wanted to have a penis because for Halloween, they didn't have to go all the way back home to pee if they had to pee. They could just go to a bush and pee. And I was really upset that I couldn't just do that like easily on the street. And I had to go all the way home to change my costume. With the exception of that, there was never a time where I was angry at my gender, wanted to be a different gender. That's not what it is. Now, that is to me.
I have to agree with you because I was in that same position as I was growing up. As I mentioned earlier, I have really high testosterone. So I always hung out with the boys. I've always got along better with men and boys growing up. I always did, you know, BMX bike riding, jumping ramps and tomboy stuff. I really didn't gain my femininity until I was like about 26. So, and that's when I was like, oh, I kind of enjoy being girly. And I'm dealing with this same issue with my daughter but hers is because of abuse, where she just doesn't, she's having disassociation issues where she doesn't want to associate with that sex because of her abuse. And she thinks if she stays a girl that it's going to happen again.
That's where therapy is really important, right? This is why, and you know, I find it really harmful. People won't bring their children
This
to
was no
therapists.
dig on anyone. I was trying to be. This was like a really
We don't
serious
think
question.
Yeah, no. And this is
fine.
why, like,
You're
therapy
fine.
is really important because when we're talking about like gender issues, right? A lot of times this is when you see gender dysphoria, and it's not related to someone who really feels like they were born in the wrong body. This is why therapy is so important, because the therapy, you have to kind of get in touch with the trauma, unfortunately, and then you have to get through the trauma to get to the other side of the trauma, you know, to resolve that issue. And it's actually something I've heard before. Like, if this is not the first time I've heard a situation where because of trauma and someone wanting to dissociate with their body thinking, I mean, even when you think about people who, for example, put on a massive amount of weight, and it's for the same reason, right? They're trying to remove themselves from the body that they feel brought the abuse to them. Right. And so that it's not the same thing as it is a form of gender dysphoria. And that's why it's so important that you get gender dysphoric kids into therapy, because they have to work through the traumas. Right. Like it's unfortunately, they're not going to just be able to just like shake it off or just whatever. And, you know, the earlier you can kind of get them into therapy, get them talking about that, and, you know, having a professional who really knows how to help these kids work through these types of issues and the type of trauma, which I'm so sorry to hear that this happened with your daughter, you know, that's the best thing to do. It really is.
I think first thing we need to do is get rid of the stigma behind therapy and things like that. I never talked about me getting therapy, but I was a person, when I was in the Army, I knew I was going to need it. Before I got out, I knew. Like my dad even pointed out to me. I came home like in between deployments one time. He says, hey, when you get back, go to the doctor. I said, what doctor? For what? I'm not sick. He said, no, go to mental health. I said, why? He said, you got PTSD. You don't know you got it, but I've been watching you since you got home. You got it. I said, you sure about that? He said, yeah. I said, all right. And I took him at his word. I mean, I went back and I did it. I thank God I did listen to him. You know what I'm saying? Because I had it badly. You know, they had the check sheets. Do you feel this? All the way down the board, almost nearly every one. I think like 2 of them were I left blank. Right. All the way down the list, man. I mean, years and years of therapy after I got out. Years of it. But I never talked about it, never told anybody, because people automatically think you're crazy once they found out you deployed and you've seen combat. They found out you're a combat veteran, people instantly think you're crazy. I'm like, no. I mean, I'll get violent if it's necessary, but that's a last resort, man. I'm not trying to get active like that with people. People carry guns. So do I.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But yeah, people. Yeah, that's an issue. We need to get rid of that stigma, in my opinion.
It's a big issue because I think people need to admit more than that. Like, just in general, everybody has some level of issues with themselves internally, and they just need to recognize that. Once you recognize that, then move on the conversation versus just let me poke the bear, throw jabs. Like William just like going back to the butter thing, right? That ain't trigger Dame. You know, he's secure with himself, right? He's mentally prepared for that, but some other people might take offense to that and just go a whole nother direction. Now that is toxic. That within itself is toxic. So yeah, that part.
Another toxic thing is knowing that when someone points out and proves to you that you have an issue, then you say, no, it's not. It's not me. That's toxic.
Yeah, like I literally have. Yeah, and even if you point it out you can also point it out to a person without pointing out. And I was going to ask that before, like my thing is like this: why do other people allow that type of toxic behavior just around them personally? And I'm not just talking about the YouTube space; I'm talking about just in real life. Because if you recognize that for yourself, like, that's unhealthy. Why even? I'll give you maybe once, like, okay, I'm a gauge just to kind of like, you know what? Let me just show you who you are. At least let me mirror it to you. But if that's not work, like, you know what? I recognize who you are. I see you. I'm not engaging no more, because if more I engage with that type of person, then now I'm I'm just as toxic as you are, because I'm with it. I'm with it now.
Well, I mean, unless you're trying to help them. I mean, how long? How far is that going to go? How far are you going to take that? You know what I mean? That can only go so far. You can't help anyone who doesn't want to be helped. You know, it's like this whole conversation with leadership. Great Pill. I tell people, listen, fellas, you can't force a woman to follow you if she don't want to follow you.
You can't. Bro, you're right on point. That's the last topic. Thank you, sir.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I'm jumping ahead. Okay. Yeah. I was like, all right, then I'll finish there. I was like, fellas, you can't force a woman to follow you if she don't want to follow you. If she don't want to follow you, then okay, then break it off. It may hurt, but that's a part of life. You're a man. This ain't your first time being rejected. Okay? Don't get pissed off. It's just a part of the game. You know, you both go your separate ways. Who knows? At least you can do it, be cordial about it. But you know what I'm saying? Don't try to force it, and don't yell at her and call out her name and stuff like that. I never understood that. Yeah, all of a sudden she's a bitch because she don't want to follow. Yeah. All of a sudden, but all the other time you was with her, she was cool. Stop, man.
A month ago, I got ghosted. I didn't even take it personal. Like, it is what it is. Now.
Right. It is what it is. It happens to everybody, man. It happens to everybody. I'm like, fella, but Ruby has a good point that I would agree with, that there's a lot of guys out there and women and girls who don't have good role models or people to look up to or people to teach them how to navigate life and how to control their emotions. You know, and then you got I hear guys talk about emotional intelligence is fake. I'm like, okay, cool, fella. You keep thinking that, you know, so this year in 2023, I've taken 3 classes on emotional intelligence. 3 just this year. You know what I mean? Because it's important. You have to be able to speak to a woman, that part of a woman. You have to be able to listen to that part of a woman. I don't care how masculine or tomboyish she thinks she is, that part's still there. I don't know what it is about it, but you got to be able to speak to not even just women, men too, because men have emotions. You have to be able to recognize when to calm things down or when to just stay the course with a guy. You know what I'm saying? Because we can see him be talking. All of a sudden, somebody says something or dude says something sideways. One guy's barking. You know what I'm saying? Dame's sitting there trying to calm the situation down because he recognizes what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But then everyone looks at him like he's a sucker. Like, okay, all of you are clowns. Now, you tell me only one guy on the panel recognized that this is going somewhere it doesn't need to go. But that's why it's important. It increases your situational awareness. But back to the whole thing with the men and ladies, fellas, stop.
You perfectly just steered us in. So I
that's why in the end of it, I'm like, fellas, stop playing.
Yeah,
it ain't
so
your first time being rejected.
Yeah,
Get over it.
So I gotta ask. So Mandrill Primer just hit us home with that one. So what is a leader? Being a man, a woman? Is a woman a leader? Is a man a leader? Like, what is a leader? What qualities is leadership within a man? Because everybody all over the place, some being a leader is just paying all the bills. Being a leader is just like making your wife pop the babies and go home and come back home and get all the sexual favors you can. So I'm confused. What ladies? We'll go with the ladies. And Eve too. We'll leave Ruby Black like the long stroke. I don't want too many long strokers on here. Ruby's our designated.
Can I go first?
But yes, but you bring some gems, Ruby. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Even though I disagree with Ruby, I don't completely disagree with her. And she always says something I agree with, and it's something I disagree with, like every time.
Okay. Neve, what is leadership within the male and female dynamic? Can you give some examples, please? Because I am confused.
That wasn't the first question. That wasn't the question you asked first, but I will answer that.
What was your first question I asked?
Well, you were just talking about. It seemed like you were asking about leadership in general.
Correct. We can start with that.
Okay, sorry. The only reason I clarified is because I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it has more to do with convictions and your ability to convey those convictions to other people. I think men are given more opportunities to convey their convictions to a mass, and people are drawn to decisiveness, right or wrong. That's why we get a lot of bad leaders in the world. That's why you can have a job and think your boss is a complete idiot, because intelligence at times doesn't even have anything to do with leadership. If you look even to like playground politics, there's always a stupid bully. He doesn't understand anything, but he always has 3 or 4 people behind him rolling with his every move. And he would be an example of a leader, but he would also be an example of somebody who, acts impulsively, but is decisive in his actions. And so that would draw people to him. So yeah, I would just say that your leadership has more to do with getting people to buy into your convictions.
All right, fair enough. Dane?
Yeah, I think to me, leadership is showing consistent good judgment, insight, and providing an environment of security. That's what I think leadership is, And I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Neve, because I feel like a good leader, it will make you believe in their vision and what have you, but a great leader will help you develop your own vision. And if you have your own path or what have you, that's one thing
You heard the
my dad always
shipbuilder quote? Are you going to the shipbuilder quote?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Okay, well, it's pretty much what you're saying, but I apologize for interrupting. But it's basically if you don't tell like a shipbuilder. So if you own a business where your job is to build ships, don't teach them to love shipbuilding. Teach them to like love the sea, basically. So like get them to buy into your vision. Yeah,
exactly.
I butchered the shit out of that, but yeah.
I know. I think I'm picking up, but I think, like I said, just go back to what I was saying. I think I've had this discussion with my wife, and she was like saying the things that I like about you is you consistently shown good judgment. You provide me you provide a significant amount of safety, and you give great insight. So I think those are the things that I think leadership qualities that I have been expressed that I have been able to convey in my life. So that's kind of where I go with it.
Do you amplify that with your wife and and around the family, or do that also people express that same just everybody else around in public, friends, family? Because usually most people because my cousin, he radiates like this aura about him out in public, but when he's home, it's just like somehow just cut off.
Yeah, it's like it's either in you or it ain't. It's just one of those things. Like in every job I'm in, like now, I lead a sales team because I think I provide a measure of that kind of stuff. You know, inside a secure way environment for them to feel like they have a voice and good judgment. You know, in the decisions I make to move the team forward. I think that's just those things are transferable in any avenue of your life, not just in your relationship. I think it's there's more consequences if you don't have it in your interpersonal relationships than in your work relationship. But I think those traits are transferable any aspect of your life.
I agree with you, by the way. In addition to what I said, I agree with you.
Sandra and Inky. Sandra, your thoughts?
In terms of like leadership, what I think of leadership, right?
Yeah.
In a relationship?
Yeah, in a relationship or just leadership overall, and then what you think of it as a man. Like, what's some qualities for you as a leader and a man?
I think just leadership as a role in general is more of a role of service than anything. I think for a good leader, usually they're not selfish and self-serving. Normally it's more of a selflessness. It's more of a like of service type of role. At least that's just kind of how I sort of see leadership. So like, I guess an example of that in a relationship would be, you know, a man that goes to work and works hard all day, say he works, you know, like a rough job that he doesn't want to do. He's doing that rough job in order to be of service to me as a woman. I think that's why I find men that work more tough jobs in general. I'm more attracted to that than I am attracted to some like a man who's a CEO, for example, that works in an office. Just because I can appreciate like the physical aspect of the sacrifice, because you're also kind of like tearing up your body in the process. So to me, it also registers like sacrifice on all realms, not just time, not just like I guess neurological energy, but also like physically as well. Also in terms of like your health as well. So I just see leadership usually a man that's very of service in just about every way.
Okay,
Can I just ask? Can I ask Chandra a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Can I just? Do you still respect that? Is there still the same amount of respect if the outcome isn't significant? If the person is working hard in a physical job but he's not making any money. Say a guy was I don't know, he replaced a tire replace. He worked at a tire shop and he replaced tires. He's working very hard. Or he was a landscaper. And, you know, he's working very hard. It's physical, it's taxing, what have you. But the financial, he's not making any real money at it. Do you feel like you still respect him because he's working hard, or is it the outcome of those jobs can diminish the fact that you see him as a leader?
I think it also it depends on what stages you are in life. Like, so, you know, like when I was young in my first relationship, the guy that I was in a relationship with, he worked very hard. He didn't make like top dollar, but that's because he was still young. You know what I mean? So I think that there's also an assessment rate that also kind of comes along with age. I mean, if you're still making $8 an hour at 40 years old, there's something a little, I think even for both women as well as men, there's something like that says something about your goal aspirations. And I think about how goal oriented you are and how much of a go-getter you are and how much you realistically want to be able to provide a solid foundation. Because I think we can all take a look at our age and we could tell, okay, maybe we're not doing so hot. Maybe, you know, like, it depends on your age. Like I don't expect you shouldn't expect like a 19-year-old to make as much money as like a 40-year-old is making, but if they're still working hard and working at their craft and that potential is still there, then yeah, I definitely think there is an element of respect that's always going to be there.
I'll let Inky go, but I have to say this. Just by the pay gaps that you're saying, I kind of have to disagree on that one, because there's like 40-year-olds and 19-year-olds like have the same job. Like a CEO could be 19, 25, 35, 40. So I would just say keep that in mind. A lot of warehouse jobs pretty much just going to give you the same base pay when you walk in the door. Also,
well, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Also, shout out to the South, and I'm talking about like almost a good chunk of Georgia, a good chunk of Alabama, a good quarter of Florida, where the pay difference is way different than Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, California.
Definitely.
So $8 there goes a long way. $8 actually can help them save money. $8 like, you know what? I got me house, land, a car, because I got cousins, like family, friends that actually just on when they hear, oh, I started pay at $15, they're good.
Well, and let's not confuse like earning a wage with necessary like financial stability, because you don't have to make a lot of money to be financially stable and have something going for yourself. You just have to be smart with how you spend.
Yeah, I just want to point that out, because even those jobs that start like 8 to 15 or 15 to 20, those guys and women actually bust a hump to make that money, and it just be 40 to 60 hours a day. Go ahead,
Trust
Inky.
me, I know. I worked in a warehouse.
Okay, that's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
You muted Inky.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am, I can. What is a leader? What is leader roles, leader traits for you, and what is a leader in the man for you?
Leader. What is a leader to me? A leader is someone that, you know, can maintain their composure. They can explain things to you if you have questions. They have the ability to, again, I guess this goes back to where they're not trying to like dominate you. It's not about the controlling and the dominating. It's about their presentation with you. So if I'm looking for that in a man, then I want someone that's able to communicate with me and not have to feel like they have to like dominate me. To me, that would be a good leader of my family. Good communication skills. And sorry, I was still in my emotions. I had put it in the back chat. So.
You're fine.
I understand.
You're fine.
I'm still trying to get the eyes to dry. You know.
Oh, you're fine. What about you know, a general man for you? Like, what's a good leadership qualities for a man for you?
One that I know that can make really good decisions. You know, I don't feel like I have to say, well, I don't think this is right. You know, like where you have faith and you have faith in his ability to take the lead. You don't have to like second guess his decision making.
Okay. Dame, you had something?
And if he does have a question, or you're ensure that you're able to communicate, it doesn't become fighting and arguing, and then they try to dominate you over it.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm just always curious. It's like with, you know, I think there's, and I think a lot of, we have this conversation with men and women. I think there's always like this undertone that women just don't want to. I think there is some kind of financial aspect to whether or not a woman feels like a man is a good leader. I don't think you got to make $1 billion, whatever, but you got to be doing something, because if he's going to be a leader in your home, he's most likely probably going to be the one kind of dictating where the money goes per se, and what it's being spent on, and how we, you know, and how will it last for us the rest of our life. In most cases, I mean, there of course there's going to be discussions and stuff like that, but I think for the most part, that's kind of how it goes. And I feel a lot of times we have discussions, women don't want to, they don't want to be appeared like they're gold diggers or they're what have you. But I think there needs to be some outcome. You need to identify that women are looking for a specific outcome. Like, I don't think most women would let a man making significantly less than him, and they dictate where the money is going in a household, lead that aspect of the household. So if you were making $100,000, but I'm saying, would you do it now? A lot of people say, "Oh, well, I did it in the past." And like when Sandra said, "Oh, when I was 19," I'm talking about now, where you are now. Would you say, if I make 100,000 and you make 45,000, I'm trusting your ability to dictate where our financial security in life to the rest of my life?
As long as he showed that he was capable of doing that, I would have no problem with it. And I was the breadwinner, and I still did give that job to him. That's how I looked at it. That was part of his job for me, because it was much easier for him to do that while I was working. So I had no problem handing I had no problem handing that responsibility to him. And I enjoyed it because then I didn't have to carry that on my shoulders. And I was able to focus on work.
What women are looking for when it comes to leadership, Dane, is competence.
Yeah.
Bottom line, they're looking for competence. Here's the thing, you can make $500,000 a year. I mean, you're bad with money. You shouldn't be in charge of anything financial.
Facts.
Give that to the woman. Give that to your baby. Listen, take care of this because I'm going to spend this up. And that's another part of a leader too. A leader does not dismiss a good idea because it's not his idea.
No, I'm saying that, but I'm saying, but I think they want to see your ability to make the money, not necessarily.
Here's the thing. Because of circumstances, some people are just comfortable at their job making $40,000 a year. Some people might be perfectly fine with that. This guy might be a super financially literate. You know what I'm saying? He just doesn't want to do what it takes to make the resources to make a whole lot of money. But his wife,
I think that's contradictory.
No, it's not. Here's the thing: his wife might work a job making $250,000 a year, right? But the guy's more financially savvy than she is, even though he's making significantly less. So who's she gonna follow? Who do you follow here? The person who's the most more financially savvy, or the person who's least? But they just because they're making more money. Money is not power like that. Yes. No. Money is not power. Again, money is not power. Money and power are two completely different things. Come on, Dan, you're better than this.
I think money is a physical indicator of competency. That's what it is.
I think it's about education and or luck. You either got the education to make the money, or you got the luck to get the job.
No, if you look, you got to perform at the job. You got to be competent at the job to continue making the money.
Not true.
No, you do not, dude. Dave, how many jobs do you work and you looked at your boss? You're like, that guy should not be in charge of anything.
And that boss is
all the time.
Wait. There's a name for this. Guys, what's the word?
So it's
what's the word? What's the word for like when a person gets their son the job?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. Thank you. Nepotism is real.
No. What I said, Ruth, what women are looking for in leadership is competence. Mm-hmm. That's what they're looking for. You know, you might not make as much money, but if you know what the fuck you're doing, that woman will, and that woman sees that you know what you're doing, she will follow.
Right.
Yeah.
She's kind of got no choice. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
but nepotism, those things kind of wash itself out. It comes out in a wash. Those things don't really last long. If the boss gives his son a job,
the most lasting thing ever.
Hold on.
How you know that?
Look at Trump.
Let me finish.
Look at Donald J. Trump and tell me nepotism ain't real.
The Bushes.
No.
Right, the Bushes.
Hold on. Let me
finish.
Donald J. Trump is not.
All the presidents of the bus.
Ruby, the Rockefellers.
Let me finish.
Thank you. Right, like, dude, where's nepotism
let me just
not
finish.
real indeed?
Hold on. Donald J. Since you brought him up, Donald J. Trump is not letting his kids run his company at all. He's still running his company. And when he dies, he's going to find a way to still let him find. He's going to handpick the person to run his company. If he gives it to his sons, there's going to be a fucking manual that they need to follow to the letter that he's going to be running it from the grave. People who
he's not doing a good job running it himself.
Hold on a second. How to run a company?
Right.
The company
he ain't running it.
I work for. The company I work for is a company where it was started by, and now the CEO is the grandson of Bush College. But if he wasn't moving the company forward, he wouldn't be there because he would have shareholders to attest to, and they would kick him the fuck out. So I'm saying is,
I think most businesses only survive one generation for this exact reason.
Nepotism only gives you access; it doesn't give you longevity.
Okay, here's the thing.
Competency gives you longevity.
No, it does not. Competency doesn't necessarily give you gives you longevity. For example, Donald Trump runs businesses and whatnot, right? This dude is under indictment under the RICO Act right now. The RICO Act. That means anyone down the line gets found guilty. Not him. Anyone involved down the line gets found guilty of one thing. He going to jail too. This is a former president, dude. Stop the madness. He still got to wait. Hold on. Dang. He still has investors. He still have a board of directors. They haven't kicked him out. Competency. Some people are just freaking lucky, Dane.
Right.
He is not lucky. He was not lucky. His dad. Jose, his dad left him $400 million to start his thing. It was no luck involved.
That was luck.
Small loan of $1 million.
So you think he's competent?
That was luck.
Like, I'm confused.
No.
He
all right.
How many businesses do you need to bankrupt before
Let me answer. Let me answer. I am all right. I'm gonna preface it with I am I am not a Donald Trump fan. I will never be one. But what his competency is not in economic. His competency is in marketing. Yes. Nobody is self-promoting marketer better than Donald Trump existing on this planet. He's promoted himself into the White House with zero
credibility or experience.
Not credibility.
Or competency.
Exactly. Tim said, how competent do you have to be at one thing? He just needs to be competent at self-promotion, in which, like I said, there's nobody on the planet better than him. Maybe Elon Musk, but there's nobody current, I would say, better than him at self-promotion because it's got him where his
I would say Jesus Christ is probably more.
Okay. What I'm saying is like,
Jesus Christ.
What you're saying is that
dude wrote one book and we're still talking about him.
What you're doing is every example you brought up is not competent. So you literally are saying, by definition, that competency is not what gets you to the top. It's just not.
Hold on a second. So what? Okay, then I would say, are they competent in self-promotion?
No.
No, those are convictions.
Oh my God.
He's not.
Okay.
Trump is not competent in anything at all. You know what?
I'm living in bizarro world.
I got you. We're turning to the weeds here. Now, here's the thing, Dave. I will agree with you.
I'm living in bizarro
Donald Trump. I'll agree with you. Trump is competent.
I'll give you the best.
It's the thing. He's competent to some people with self-promotion, i.e., idiots. Because smart people, Dave, you telling me you didn't believe the word
81
that said
to 76 million to 74 billion.
I'll give you a better example. Hold on,
Dave. That's to show you that most people aren't competent. So that's why most people aren't competent. You know what I'm saying? An idiot is going to sound like a genius to a moron. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. Listen, here's the thing. What I'm saying. My point is to answer Great Bill's question, if I can. Then we can. Have the Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah.
So women are looking for competence. Number one in leadership. If she believes and honesty, okay, because you got to tell her the truth, whether she likes the answer or not. You must tell the truth. Period. That's the only way she's gonna believe in you. If she finds that you lied about one thing, it's done.
Yeah,
it's done.
All day.
It's over. All that goodwill you built up, everything you ever tried to do, all that's out the window. One lie will ruin the whole thing. Competency, honesty. Okay, always be honest. Period. So, because if a woman believes in you, she will follow you. Because you're competent. She sees that you're competent. Okay, this guy knows what he's doing. If I say, okay, listen, all right. If she says, I want to have. Hold on, Dave. If she says, if I want a house. That's $330,000, right? She has faith in her dude. He's gonna do whatever it takes to earn the money to provide her with that house. Or she wants to go to a trip to Europe. He's gonna do it. He's gonna make that shit happen. She believes in it. You know what I'm saying? And there you have it. Fellas have to be competent about something first. Because here's the thing: if you're competent at marketing, that's bullshit. Okay,
you repeat yourself. My bad. You repeat yourself. Go ahead, Dame. Then Neve. I apologize, Neve. Go ahead, Dame.
You're making my point. You're making my point. My point is they need to see. Hold on a second. No, they need to see a lot. There needs to be a tangible result after the tangible result would be the house that he said he was going to get you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the tangible result.
Yeah, I'm
so
not
you can't.
with that.
I'm saying all I'm saying. So that's when you can say, yeah, I'm competent. You wanted a $300,000 house. I bust my ass. I worked 4 jobs, whatever, and I got you this house. That is a tangible result. But if they aren't seeing, if women aren't seeing a tangible result, they won't follow you regardless of how comfortable how thing you are.
Okay, I don't think Trump. Okay, I'll tell. Okay,
how many clips did Whitney follow Bobby on?
Hold on, we gotta let Neve
Oh, wait.
go. We gotta let Neve
Okay.
go. Go ahead, Neve.
I like if Trump deliberately worked his way into the White House by being an absolute narcissist, like deliberately, then I would say okay, but that's not the case. He's just an absolute narcissist. He has a history of being that way his entire life, and then the things came together. You're saying that the outcome matters, that he was president at the end of the day, but it still comes down to the convictions. This guy was stupid enough to believe what he believed for as long as he did, so he got people on board. Another example of this, there's people in the world, like one fucking idiot or whoever at one point in time was like, yo, the earth is flat. And they kept saying it and saying it and saying it. And now all these people believe the earth is flat. And so like, it doesn't matter if you can market yourself. Like convictions and competence have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, all I'm saying is all right, and since we keep using him as the example.
I like how E-Man left and somehow he transferred all that energy from him to you. But go ahead.
It's just so, I don't think it's just so disingenuous to say that he is not proficient and competent at self-promotion. Name one person who's better at self-promotion, because you know why he's better, and I'm gonna tell you why he's better, because he does not have shame. He can promote himself in any aspect. There's zero shame of touching himself.
But is it because he? Well, 1 second. Is it because he's competent or because the people who follow him are morons? I told you. Well, he's going to look like a genius to a moron.
Shout out to Andrew Tate, Ruby.
I was just going to say Andrew Tate.
Yes,
I'm just saying everyone else who followed him was stupid.
Most Google
okay, that doesn't make him
right.
proficient at marketing. Right, because I didn't believe him. I didn't believe anything Trump said. Neither did you, Dame. That's because you're a competent human being.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Elon Musk. Everyone believed Elon Musk. Everyone.
Yeah,
it took us a long time to figure out Elon Musk was
no one on this panel believed a word Trump said.
No,
because we're competent people.
Right.
But I'm saying his outcome, he achieved. Both of them did the two things that they achieved the outcome that they were looking for. They were able to.
He didn't. That's why he had to literally try to bribe the entire world, and he couldn't get reelected, no matter what he tried to do, no matter what threats he put out there. And then he dropped.
Hold on a second.
Hold on a second. America, and that still didn't work out, did it?
Hold on.
He's indicted again.
He what you call it? He has with his competency, he has a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
He's fucking narcissistic and delusional.
Right.
That's his disadvantage.
Good at marketing. Here's the problem, right?
No. One doesn't make him. No. I'm not saying that this then that. I'm just saying that's why his what he's done has a shelf life on it. Could only last so long because he had those disadvantages of being disillusional and narcissistic. He had mental issues that prevented it from lasting any longer. If he wasn't narcissistic, he could have easily sailed through to a second term. But because his delusion, I'm saying his delusional.
Allegedly.
No, I disagree with you.
Allegedly.
I agree with me.
Exactly.
You can promote Grey Pill all you want.
It's just not true. I agree with you. Here's the thing. If Obama had never been president, Trump would never have been president. That's just what it is.
I'll be down for some promotion.
I agree. So it
has nothing to do with Trump.
No. That's what I'm saying. But no. Trump wasn't the only one saying exactly what Trump said. He just did it in a different way. He said everybody was saying the thing that he was saying. Barack Obama wasn't born in here. He did nothing. He catered toward black people. He didn't do anything. All the things we're saying, all of the people on the stage, Ted Cruz said it, Marco Rubio said it, Jeb Bush said it. They all said the same thing. The difference is something Dave Chappelle did. He illustrated it perfectly. He said, Trump walked out of the room and said, everything you think we're doing in that room, we're doing. And I'm going to go back in that room. And people said, you know what? I appreciate his honesty.
Yeah,
that's the reason why he won over the rest of people.
No, that's not why.
That's not why.
No. What other candidate? No, hold on. What other candidate had been on a TV show for years, recognized as a celebrity, and we trust celebrities more than we trust doctors?
Reagan.
Because that's all it was. And that wasn't Trump's selection. That wasn't Trump being good at anything at all. That was the people who owned the TV show and producing the TV show. That was them.
Don't forget the Terminator. He was our governor.
Yeah.
It wasn't Trump's office. It wasn't Trump's business. It wasn't Trump's any idea. It wasn't Trump's anything. Trump got
no.
And the thing is, Trump has been saying and doing the same destructive stuff about Black people in particular for decades now. Okay,
openly admitting
for
it
decades. You know what it didn't benefit?
And but I'm actually questioning if that's the case, why did he get 5% of the Black vote?
Again,
people are morons. Morons. That's why women aren't. That's why women are not following a lot of men. That's why women aren't following a lot of men. There are a lot of morons out there.
All I'm saying is that
exact same answer.
Because
you're missing.
He did something different than everybody else did. He made it seem. He made it. Hold on. The way he promoted himself was, I am like you. He was able to convince people making $4.50 an hour that a billionaire who inherited his money from his dad was exactly the same as them. How do you do that?
Right. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Because everyone else
do that. And do it for 50 years, and eventually you're going to hit on something. He's been doing the same thing for 50 years. He hasn't changed, not one iota.
Which means he's pretty good at it, right?
No.
He must be pretty good at it.
No, Dave.
Definitely not.
No, Dave. No, he had a handicap. In health, we call this a handicap, Dame. What I'm saying is the vast majority of people are dumb. People are dumb, Dame, and you know this. You know this. And it wasn't his mastery of marketing. It was the idiocy of America. And Donald Trump has handlers. He had people hire him. He hired people to teach him how to speak to the idiocy of America.
He did not.
And he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He hired people to look body language coaches. He did the same thing Hitler did. If you notice, go back and watch those old videos of Hitler and the body language he did when he makes his speeches. That's why you see Trump doing this kind of stuff. His hands like this, and then it's body language. It's active. It's motion. It keeps your attention. It's subconscious. He hired people.
You should look into political speech writing. It'll.
He hired people to teach him how to do that.
I watched this documentary on Netflix called "How to Be a Cult Leader."
Oh, I just started watching that. It's crazy.
I haven't watched that at all.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Everything. If you watch that show, it says thing. Not everybody can do it. There's an innate talent that comes along with it because you have to not give a shit about how you look to other people, and that is hard for a lot of people to do. To not give a shit about the way the world.
You got $1 billion.
But you know who it's easy for? It's easy for narcissists.
Not when you got $1 billion. Not when you got $1 billion. Listen,
it's pretty easy when you
are not gonna care.
Don't care.
You are not. If you had $1 billion, Dave, you would not give one shit about what anyone. If your wife thought about you, you are not gonna care. You're gonna do exactly what you want to do.
Donald Trump doesn't have $1 billion.
I know that, but he tells everyone else does, and they believe him.
But everybody,
can I answer the question?
It's like Andrew Tate said he's a trillionaire. Everybody knows the guys believe him.
No, they don't. No one has $1 trillion.
No,
he said
can I answer the actual question?
No one has $1 trillion.
What women want kind of question? Can I answer that? Because I didn't get to answer.
Hold on, what was the question? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because Donald Trump is literally exactly what most women wouldn't choose, and that's why all he could get are mail order brides, right? Because even though he can get women, even gold diggers, to date him for short periods of time, he can't get them to stay or commit. Right, unless there's something in it for them, like they really require a green card, for example. Nope. So now here's the thing: most women, even the gold digging type and whatever, right? What they want is safety and security. That's what women want. Now, different women think different things brings them safety and security.
Absolutely.
Right? Generally, that's why generally though women don't want a liar, and men are like, well, that's not true because you want me to say your butt looks great, and no, because again, being attractive to him means he's probably not going to cheat on you and because women want safety and security. We want you to be honest, and we don't want to catch you in lies because we don't feel safe and secure in that case, right? And safety and security for women, for some women, for example, they might have been born into poverty or into starvation. They promised themselves never again. So now you want to marry them. Well, you got to make sure you can provide because they never want to be starving again, right? Or they don't want to have your babies and now they can't work and y'all are starving because you don't work, right? And so safety and security means different things to different women, right? This is why, again, women tend to care about character. They tend to care about integrity, right? They tend to care about these things. Why? Because safety and security. Underlying all of it, it's always safety and security, right? A man who is going to go out there, he's going to lie, cheat, and steal, right? And it's in a way to feed your family. Like, let's say you're poor, whatever, and it's a way to feed your family. That might feel like safety to a woman who never had a man who would do anything to take care of her and her kids, right? So, and then to other people, just the fact that you would go do crimes and stuff, which you might get caught one day, you might get arrested one day, and then what's going to happen to us? Well, those people, with the foresight, they wouldn't feel safe and secure in that situation, right? So different women are going to ultimately define safety and security by different things. But generally, I will say there are some traits that women almost universally dislike, right? So the
What are they?
The ick factor is one. When a guy who gives women the willies, right? You creep me out like that. That is something, and that creep factor, that is something that universally all women, it doesn't matter. We all will identify the same guy as being creepy, giving you the willies. You want nothing to do with him. That's it. He's going to have to buy someone, and that person will stay just as long as he keeps funneling the money, and she will even be uncomfortable forever, right?
Because Ivanka was planning to leave Donald Trump and go be off with her boyfriend until Trump won that election.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why she was sitting on that couch crying because when he won that election, she couldn't divorce him. He's president now. She couldn't divorce him.
Exactly.
She's stuck.
Exactly.
All right.
So that's a piece that most of you don't have. That was no successful happy marriage.
I want to ask you a question. What is the thing out of all those things? Because like you said, I think women find value in different things at different stages of their life. Some women find abs, what's necessary. Some people find intelligence. Some people find money. Mm-hmm. Just if we're being 100%, keeping it 100% a buck, what is the thing that is going to probably keep them in the situation the longest?
Safety and security. I'm telling you, this is the thing. You're like, well, women like different things, right? But here's the thing: abs. What does abs mean, right? To a woman who
that means he's physically in shape that he can protect them in the case of a physical. He can protect her physically.
Always comes down to safety and security, and then to figure out what that individual woman cares about as far as safety and security, you delve into her childhood, into her early formative years, and she'll let you know exactly what safety and security looks like to her.
Emotional intelligence, guys. You're not going to do that without it.
Mm-hmm. Emotional intelligence might be it.
I got that core ass, bro. Core ass, bro.
All I'm saying is that historically, you say what you want. I'm just going by everything I see every day. Is just like realistically, if a woman said, if you ask a woman, would you rather have a guy who makes more than you as the leader of your household because he's shown that he makes good, decisive, insightful decisions that have a tangible outcome, as opposed to a guy who does those same things, but there's no real tangible outcome other than, I don't know, there's no real tangible outcome. Most women will say, yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy where I can see the outcome of or I can, it's not just how I feel. It's just not like this guy makes me feel like, and if you ask a woman, oh, I don't care about how much he makes or whatever like that. It's always, as long as he's motivated, as long as he wants to do something. I mean, you ask women,
right?
It was like, you say, would you get with a guy who, like, I remember we were just there, the big thing was like, would you guy who drove a bus? And the woman said, well, if he owned a bus company. That
Yeah,
kind of
but why did that
situation.
woman?
That shit's
Did you listen
real.
to that woman though? Because they did do a lot of discussion, and again, it came down
And
to
then she
what
tried to
is she
walk it
looking
back.
for. No.
She
It's not that she's
tried to walk
walking
it
it
back.
back. It's not that she's walking it back, right? See, here's the thing: men don't actually want to hear this, right? But it doesn't matter how much, and the reason why men don't want to hear it is because as long as men think that they can earn a certain amount of money, that will open the door to all of the women that they could possibly want, right? With all the looks and the personality and everything that they want. As long as men believe that, then they have something to work towards. Men don't want to believe that women are not actually that. When women say, "Oh, I want a 106-figure guy," and that women actually are not looking at it the same way men do. They're literally not. That 100K means something very specific to that woman. Maybe it means, and it depends on the woman, depends on the situation. It could mean that, hey, he already makes enough money that he can afford to be home on evenings and weekends, and he can afford to go on, family vacations, actually spend quality time. Maybe it means you can afford to give your kids a backyard and actually, again, spend quality time. Normally, things mean something to women, and it's not about the money, it's about the thing that it means to the woman. Okay. And it's like men don't want to hear that. The bus driver thing, a lot of women associate certain menial type of tasks and jobs and whatever, not with the fact that he makes less than her, right? But they're thinking about the guy who's not motivated, the guy who's going to be trying to date her so he can get her to pay for everything, the kind of guy who's on the 50-50 tip, I don't take care of you, what are you, my child, right? And again, women want safety and security. They want a man who wants to take care of them, right? And so she's associating a lack of safety and security with that guy, right? And so it's not about her walking it back. It's about the fact she made a statement that was very clearly misunderstood by all the men in the world, but honestly, most of the women probably understood a little.
Whatever.
I built this place. Down here, I make the rules.
You can go ahead and respond to Ruby. Then we're gonna do final thoughts and let Inka go because she has to cook.
Oh, sorry about that.
She's making me plate though, but if she's not, that sucks.
Thank you very much. No.
Go ahead, Dave.
All I'm saying is just like when it comes down to it, it's just like we can. It just doesn't bear in. It doesn't. It all comes out in the wash. It doesn't. There's what you're saying is doesn't really reflect what the vast majority of people see in society. It just doesn't. It
actually does.
It just,
like both of you are right though.
No, hold on. Let me finish. It's just like it's just one of those things where, yes, women. I feel like a lot of women want to say, that does not matter to me if they can provide safety and security in some other way. That's not the main thing. I just associate that. That's the easiest thing to associate with safety and security is that, I won't be starving. I won't be hungry. My kids will their kids will be in a safe environment and stuff like that. I think that just goes into it's baked in that women want to have the most. That's why they want in the nature of women. The big lion wanted the biggest, strongest lion because it ensured the health and security of their offspring. So it's just one of those things.
No, did you hear what you just said?
What did I
right?
say?
You said what's baked in. What's baked into us?
No. All I'm saying is.
No, but you just said it. You just said it, right? You said what's baked into us from 10,000 years ago.
Hold on.
We stopped evolving 10,000 years ago. Was women? No, you don't have to because that's when we stopped evolving. That's when we stopped evolving. So what you said was what's baked into women. No, this is what you said. You said what's baked into women. What's baked into women. This is what you said. What's baked into women is women want
You're still a woman, Dame.
That's what you said, right? Didn't you say that? Did you say
still a woman,
that?
Dame.
Did you say that? You did, right? Exactly. So he said women want the biggest, strongest man. And I'm sorry, is it the biggest, strongest man that earns the most money? Is it? It's not, right? It's not the biggest, strongest man that earns the most money. And that's the problem, is that you realize you've caught yourself in a catch-22 and you realize you put your foot in your mouth, and that's why you won't allow me to actually speak uninterrupted, because you know that you're wrong now and you just proved it.
I won't allow you to speak uninterrupted. Have you interrupted me?
Good job.
Won't allow you
Good
to
job.
be,
No, go ahead.
I won't allow
it's
you
fine.
to
I've
be
already done now. Everyone heard me.
So, okay, like I said, I think I heard me say Ruby like 50,000 times. So I don't know which. So
it doesn't matter, Dave. Doesn't matter, Dave. Why you got the time?
Okay. Okay. So basically, what I was saying is like, I just love when people remix or rewrite history. I never said the word 10,000 years ago until
No,
right
you
now.
didn't.
That's
I
the
didn't
first
say
time
you
the word
did.
10,000 years ago.
That's just when we
You just said,
evolving.
I said 10,000
I
years
literally
ago. I
said,
said
no,
this.
that's when we stopped evolving. You said it's baked into us. The last thing that was
Which is all
baked
I
into
said.
us was up to 10,000 years ago because we haven't evolved since hunter-gatherer times. 10,000 years ago. It's not hard.
Ruby.
Honey, if you just say my name a lot, it's not going to make reality less real. Just so you know.
Ruby.
Like, you know that, right?
It'll make you stop talking.
No?
Hopefully, it'll make you
It
stop
actually
talking.
it didn't though. If you notice, it didn't actually make me stop talking last time, so it's obviously not going to work this time either. Like, I don't know if you think that it would, because why? Does that work with your like girlfriends and stuff, or like I don't know?
I don't have girlfriends.
It's not going to phase me. Like, you said my name. Most people really like hearing their name.
All right, David got that Dame finish out there. Inky gotta make me dinner.
I mean, like I said, that is what's it called. It's just like, okay. So what I was saying is just like, it's just hard because what people are saying is just not what I see propagated in society on a daily basis. That you're about it is it's about what money represents. Money represents, for the most part, it's the most tangible way for women to ensure that they have some form of safety and security for the longest period of time. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I feel like when women say, "Oh, it's just not about that," I feel like that's just a disingenuous statement, because if you get with somebody that's poor, you're looking for them to lead you. A lot of times there'll be that element of insecurity there. Like, okay, can this really person really do it? Is this person? But if somebody has shown it through a history of good decisions that they've made money, and they can say, okay, now that's one thing that's not one insecurity I don't have, because I see that he makes good, smart decisions, and here's the definitive outcome of it. I feel more comfortable following this person. I think women try to downplay that is, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, because hypergamy is real, and I'm all for it, because I think it motivates men to do better. The fact that women want men who are doing better. So it's just one of those things where I just don't think, I think it's disingenuous if a woman says that money isn't as important as it is when it comes to picking the men that you want to follow. That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying. And it came into this. But I'm saying, but that's what I said. But
no. Let Dame land the plane.
I need to make some like
don't
yummy
do that.
Hot roast patty
Let
melt.
him let the plane though.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I hate when people do that. Say you don't have to say Dame. If what's called it goes where it goes. And I'm not mad either way. I'm gonna go in and eat me some Rice Krispies and call it a day. You know, I'm gonna forget about this conversation.
I'm gonna wither away over here.
Okay, thank you.
My colon is starting to eat my stomach.
Fuck, man. Like you said, it's like that's what I've been saying the whole time, but it just seems like there was a disagreement there for some reason. You said nobody's disagreeing with you, but there seemed to be some kind of disagreement with what I'm saying. There seemed to be like all I said was
literally everyone.
All I said was what I said. Everybody's disagreeing with me that, like, okay. Maybe because I got money, I'm thinking something.
I'm saying everybody disagreeing with everybody the whole 3 hours, so we're good. Inky, final thoughts. Then Neve, then Dane, then Mandrell, then Ruby.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hold on. What are you cooking with the pot roast? You said pot roast?
Yeah, it's pot roast patty melt and fresh French fries.
Nice.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Some that. No butter, right? No butter?
No butter. Maybe a little au jus sauce. Yeah. Okay.
Fancy.
So I have to say I don't agree with this men need to be the sole provider, only because from my perspective, and I've lived it, and I was married for 17 years. I was the sole provider. Secondly, I wouldn't want to move into the man's pre-built family home because I came from a trauma environment, he has the ability to boot you out. He owns it. You know, I would prefer it if I could hear a man, and this is where the respect comes from. Hold on. Don't even breathe. Just, I would want him to be like, we built this together. This is ours. Especially if you're in a relationship, it's ours. We had these kids. These are our children. It's not her children. And that's where there's this discontent right now, is because men want to dominate. Not saying all men. It's a domination thing again, where he has this control and he could be like, I'm done with you, and out you go. Not saying he would do that to his wife. I'm just saying it's that possibility that could very well happen. So from my perspective, and I'm done being winded, is that if it was more of a we thing, or that communication, and what Mandrell was saying over there, he was spot on. So was Ruby. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me up.
Are you good? Last thing, Inky, because Lady Navour, when our mod, she asked, she said, I have to rewind that meal menu again. I was like, what? Laughing out loud, but I rewinded. Okay, so all right, I was gonna ask her to repeat the menu, but all right, as long as you know. Thank you. All right, Inky. Enjoy your dinner. Let me know how that turns out.
Thank you.
All right, Neve.
Okay, I have 10 really quick superlatives for you regarding the stream. Are you ready?
Why not? Everybody else
Might as well, Neve. Might as well, man. Might as well,
Hey. Number 1, Mandrell, the first man to ever discover emotional intelligence.
Damn.
Number 2, Dame, man who most likely inherited his microphone from his father. Number 3, I can't believe he said butter. Number 4,
true.
Facts don't care about feelings. They also don't care about that one time your friend did that thing that you are now using to inform your opinion. Number 5, you don't have to hear someone out to know they're wrong. Number 6, Sandra's mic was so good that crickets came in clearer than I did. Number 7, the earth is not flat. Number 8, Sandra's moving around with her phone gave me motion sickness.
Bruh.
Number 9, Pinky's background made me feel like I was on acid. And 10, shout out to the greatest marketing guru of all time, my Lord and Savior, Cheese and Rice.
All right, then.
I like that. I like that. Dame, final thoughts, bro?
Shit. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy myself, brother. I got to say, I always enjoy myself. Jump on your path, brother. So anytime you want me, I'm your guy. When it comes down to it, everybody's experience dictates their reality. Whatever, it is what it is.
All right, fair enough. Mandrell.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think most women are looking for money necessarily. You got a lot of women because society pumps in our heads and stuff like that. You do have some people who equate successful men, what we consider successful men, with competence and things like that. Guy who's able to make good decisions and things like that. But that's not necessarily true, because look at how many deadbeat dudes and no jobs get women. They got nothing going for themselves, but they still get women. Women who should be far out of their league. It happens all the time. Dane, you and I both, and Grey Pill, all the three of us, we know dudes like that. Ain't worth 2 cents and get like the baddest chick. And it's like, here's the thing. Right.
Ain't
and
nobody
it's like,
happy though.
And here's the thing. The woman is. But here's the thing. There's something. The thing is, no, it's not necessarily his money. There's something about him, the person, that draws her in. Now, she might later say, hey, this is, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. And then when she finds out that he's not really a competent guy, that's when she leaves, when she loses faith in it. Because the first dudes is sell a woman a dream all the live long day. You know what I'm saying? And tell them this, tell them that, knowing full well they can't live up to that. And they don't even try. A woman will stay with them deadbeat dudes as long as they trying. If they're putting the effort into doing it, but it don't work out, they'll still stay. At least it's trying. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing about that, Dane. Yeah, it ain't necessarily the money. I used to think that too, but it ain't the money, man. It's the individual. You know, it's something about that dude that keeps that woman there. Now again, later on, now, Dame, that's when your part comes in, and you know things go tits up. You know what I'm saying? The tangibles. They eventually do want to see something here. You know what I'm saying? Like they ain't the first or the middle. That's the end. This is a fantastic conversation. I got to tell you that. I mean, you actually got me up, and I was like, yeah, let me get in on this one. This is a good conversation, yeah, man. It really is. You know.
Yeah. Traveling Fools has said something. I've been working out, but I mean, it's up to y'all because I know a lot of y'all is into politics, whatever. Ruby, it seemed like you do know your thing a little bit about politics when you mentioned about Trump. So, bravo to you.
Ruby,
so. We'll because I actually do want to have the Trump conversation since he's running for president, all this stuff going on.
No, he's not running for president.
He's not.
Listen to me. Listen. Great Pill, listen. Donald Trump ain't running for president. He's under 4 indictments currently. 4. And now he's under the RICO Act. Mm-hmm. As of yesterday. He's not running. You're not running for president. You're under the RICO Act. You're under 4 indictments, brother. You got way more things to worry about. His lawyer team is preparing.
He running.
Like actively preparing for the slew of people that they're going to bring under that RICO Act. And again, under RICO, if one of those people gets found guilty, everybody goes to jail. Mm-hmm. Everybody.
He's definitely running.
So wait. His lawyers have to keep. His lawyers have to keep everybody clean and innocent. They have to prove that every single one of those people are innocent. It's going to be a lot of people to get drug in, man. A lot of people. There's no way.
He needs those campaign donations to pay for his legal fees. He running.
I'm telling you, he ain't running. Donald Trump's not running for president. Listen. It's all bravado. Again,
Saul is right in the chat though. He can be president from prison.
It's all bravado.
Interesting.
It's not clever marketing, Dane. It's just he realized that most people are dumber than he is, and so he just fed off that. And he's dumb. He's dumb too. But I mean, there are people in the backwoods of the Appalachia. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And they're just no.
Okay.
So, like I said, the competence is what makes a woman stay. And also, fellas, you want a woman who's mentally stable, okay, and is not materialistic. That's what you want. Now, why do you think billionaires get women who are like 6s and at best 7s?
What?
Yeah. Billionaires do. They marry
6s and 7s.
Yeah, exactly. They marry those. That's the one. Hold on. That's the one who gets the ring. That's the one who wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The rest of them, those like cars. Those you rent those models. You know, you rent it, you play with it for a bit, and you send it back. But the one that we want to buy, it ain't the chicks with the BBLs and twerking. We ain't gonna buy that model. No, you'll be around a good 2 weeks, 2 days, and you're out.
Mandra, real quick, bro. Lady Devore, Nurse Respect. I haven't seen Reckless on his channel, just new in the chat. Anybody's on this panel, you can promote all the mods, you can promote everybody on this channel, on this platform. Damien, Mandrell, Ruby, Inky, everybody's been on a platform that has a channel is more than welcome their channel. Even DL Saint, and me and him disagree on a lot of crap, but he's always been here supporting the channel and meeting him. So those guys are the ones, and also Poppy Blanco, even though he's not active, those are the ones to get the promotion of the channel. So I don't know who Reckless is. I've seen him on panels, but not on this panel. This is new. So Mandrell, do you mind putting your link in the back, sir? Because I know it's new. So I want to make sure you get full support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have your own channel now?
I do have my own
channel. Finally.
Right? Okay, good.
Finally.
Let's see here. And the ones I have now, they're live streams. So go to when you go to the channel, go to live, and you'll see the content I put up there so far. I had to re-upload one because YouTube blocked it for 12 seconds of footage. 12 seconds of footage. I was like, wow, 12 seconds, bro. Really? Yeah.
They taken down like it's like for the music though. If it's something copyright, it got to be 7 seconds or under. Last time I checked, so I don't know if they changed that.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have known that when I first started doing my channel because I had like whole music videos playing, and then they gave me a strike or something like that for that.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't originally like that, right? It's just every time YouTube changes their terms in service, they then feel no ways to retroactively go back and punish channels for doing something that was perfectly legal like yesterday. So that happens to a lot of people, sadly.
Right. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what Ruby got to say. I'm so please, bless me.
Hold on, before Ruby go.
Waiting.
Yeah, before Ruby go though, but I'll definitely reach out to y'all guys because Tropical's Fools had brought up there because I didn't know he said he is a Trump supporter, so that'd be interesting to have that conversation. So we'll try to set up either sometime this week or the following week per Ruby's schedule because I definitely want to on for that one. Yeah. We'll talk in the back room because I want to reach out to somebody, see if I can have this person on sometime, I guess like this Thursday or Friday. But I'll let you know in the back. It's a very interesting person. It's all the spaces crying about this particular person. So final thoughts, Ruby. Final thoughts.
Okay, so it's my turn now. So again, and we were talking about. Well, I was talking about. Well, no, let's be real. Dane was talking about things being baked in, and that's what I'm responding to predominantly. So, okay, okay, we're talking about, and I think most people can agree that women have it baked in, right? We want to be protected, provided for, right? This is why the biggest, strongest man, right, is a trope of what women are going to choose over the little puny, scrawny guy, okay? And so, again, women and men in general and the things that we prefer, that's baked in from 10,000 years ago. We have not evolved in 10,000 years. And so when women want to choose like the big, strong guy, whatever, right? People think, well, yeah, but that's not always true. Sometimes they pick this guy and that guy and the whatever. Well, because women actually are not just picking based on muscles, okay? Because back in the days, 10,000 years ago, right? Men were in a hierarchy based on what they accomplished with those muscles. Not just the fact that you had a bunch of bulky muscle or you had a bunch of height, it's what you did with it. So you were at the top of the food chain in the tribe if you brought the most food home, if you protected the whole tribe from the snake and the tiger and the whatever, right? Your spoils on a daily basis is in essence what ranked men, right? Hierarchy wise. And so to this day, that in and of itself, that's what women are evaluating. Okay. They're evaluating men in comparison to other men based on their ability to make her feel safe and secure. And like I said, that is going to differ from woman to woman. But one thing I'll tell you what it does not do, it does not just automatically equate to, well, therefore, money. It doesn't, because evolution doesn't work that way. Okay. And an example that evolution does not work that way is the fact that 10,000 years ago, we were scared of snakes and spiders the most because that was the most likely to kill us. Okay. So much so that now to this day, if they flash you a screen with 50 different images on it for a microsecond, you are going to be able to count how many spiders and how many snakes were on that screen. Even though 99% of us are not really under threat by snakes and spiders, right? That it has nothing to do with our personal experience. It's actually baked in, literally baked into us to fear snakes and spiders. Now, it doesn't make sense, right? Because in this day and age, well, that's not the thing that's most likely to kill us. Maybe guns, weapons, cars. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what's really going to kill us in this day and age. It doesn't. You can put all the cars and whatever you want and all the guns, all of the something terrible, knives, whatever. When you flash the image, again, with 50 different pictures, people aren't going to pick up on those things, the things that kill us in today's world. They're only going to pick up on the spiders and snakes from 10,000 years ago. And this is an actual thing. They do this study recently, and they repeat it and they try different things. It doesn't matter because we stopped evolving 10,000 years ago. Okay. And so the problem with that is what? Well, because we fear something because we respect it. We respect its ability to control our lives, to dominate us, and to shut us down. That's what it is, right? That's what fear is in a way. It's a form of respect. And so in that way, right, we evolved to respect snakes and spiders, just like we evolved to respect what? A man's ability, competency, to protect, provide for us, right? And we did not evolve to respect money. So we don't care how much money you have. We don't. Because if at the end of the day, if you can provide us with the thing we need to feel safe and secure, if you can provide us with that, and you, in comparison to all of your peers standing in front of me, are the one who can provide me with safety and security, I don't care how much is in your bank account. It doesn't matter. Likewise, you can have the most in your bank account by far, legions. And I know because I've dated multiple millionaires actually, and I didn't pick them. I didn't, because their character was flawed. Their integrity was flawed. Their priorities were flawed. And to me, those things were far more important, because those things were all the things that would let me know indefinitely whether or not I was safe or secure with that man. Because you could have billions of dollars, but if you're not a charitable person, I'm not getting any of it, right? It's not going to help me. If you're selfish and entitled, right? What kind of husband would you be? What kind of provider and protector would you be if you're selfish and entitled, right? So your character, your integrity, those are the things that were going to make me feel the most safe and secure, right? Your willingness, right? This is why women talk about motivation, and most women do, because it has to do with an underlying motivation, not your entitlement, not what life handed you, not where you got lucky, right? Because you could lose that job tomorrow. We all know it. Easy come, easy go. Right? Moolah, easy come, easy go. What underlying all of that? What's your level of motivation? Are you willing to get up and go earn something new? Are you willing to go and start again from the ground zero and build and fight to make sure that you and our children and whatever, that we're safe and secure? That is ultimately what it's going to come down to for women. And like I said, safety and security does mean different things to different women, right? But money, I'm telling you, money is only worthwhile insofar as the fact that it can purchase things that make her feel safe and secure. That's just all it is. And honestly, again, it doesn't matter how much you have of it, because all she cares about is the thing that you're going to be purchasing. So as long as you have enough of that, as long as she feels safe and secure with what you're providing, and more importantly, she knows that you are willing to fight to the death to continue providing it for her. And she also knows that you are willing to charitably share, give it away, shower it down on her, because she's the most important thing. Her safety, her security, her happiness is integral to yours. That is always going to be something that women are going to choose. And that's why it is. That doesn't matter. This is why we've had the battle of the educated lame versus Pookie and Ray Ray, right? Why does Ray Ray keep winning over the educated lame, right? It's not because of Ray Ray. It's because of that mentality. That's what they're looking at. The mentality of, he's going to take care of me. Okay, he's going to protect me against harm. His social status amongst his peers, people respect him. So they're not going to test me because they're afraid that he's going to punch them in the face. And you know what? He'll make sure that I get fed. And he's going to make sure that our baby has clothing. And he's going to make sure I'm going to feel safe. And I'm from the hood. So safety in the hood is a big thing, right? That's going to be important to the girl from the hood. Ray Ray ain't going to really do much for me when I live in the middle of some multi-million-dollar neighborhood, right? So I'm going to be looking for something different in this neighborhood. I don't care about money at all. Do you know why? Because I wasn't suffering from lack of money growing up. So to me, money is not an object. I don't care. And a lot of women who didn't suffer from poverty, from starvation, they take it for granted in a way, I guess you could say. So they're not going to care, because that's not what women are about. They don't respect money. They just don't, right? Women are a lot more likely to just respect your muscles than they're going to respect money, because we evolved to recognize what muscles do, what muscles can provide us, and whatever from 10,000 years ago, right? Just like we evolved to respect the spider and the snake. And we did not evolve to respect money, just like we did not evolve to fear the car or the gun. We just don't, right? Even little babies fear the spider and the snake. So basically, that's what I want to say. At the end of the day, obviously, I agree with Mandrell. I do think competency has a lot to do with it, obviously. And more importantly, though, like I said, it has to do with safety and security and each individual woman's definition of that, and your ability to fulfill it and your willingness to fulfill it. I say all these words at the end. Thank you very much.
Ta-da!
Oh, I actually remembered everything I wrote.
Okay, you have some skill.
Look at me. I actually remembered all of it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Golf clap, Dame. Golf
I'm
clap.
I'm an evolutionary psychologist, so I always go to evolution because I'm an evolutionary psychologist. It's what I do. So.
All right. Fair enough. Appreciate everybody for coming on through. Definitely appreciate Mandel chiming in to give some insight on the conversation. Definitely appreciate Dane coming in, gives perspective like always. Yeah, like I said, Dane, your home is here, bro, for you anytime. We will have some. Well, I know I just don't like Pearly. I don't like Andrew Tate. I don't like a lot of them.
I don't like Pearly's face. I'll be honest with you.
That's fine. Anybody who just don't like Pearly, I'm down for the bandwagon on that one. But
she's hideous.
With that being said, randomly, I'm just gonna always have videos on that. But every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central, is gonna be group conversations. We definitely work on a second one, so it might be an end of the week. So I'm gonna reach out to Dane, Mandrell, Ruby, and Traveling Fools to see if we can do the Trump conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. So the pill conversation might make that for next Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Because I know Ruby got a lot of insight in that one too. So she might be the quote unquote the gray pill side of it. Then see if I get Inky on, she could be the quote unquote pick me. Then I get another female. So that just wrapped it up. And then Wes can be the quote unquote white knight. And then just have the regular guys that actually ideals. Yeah, I know, Dave. It's a lot, but it's gonna be good. I promise you.
Well, I am a trad wife and a red pillar. I mean, if you look at the way I actually live my life and my beliefs.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get the basic, the basic one, the red.
What's your IG?
What's my IG? Classic Ruby. Everything of me is Classic Ruby.
Yeah.
Classic Ruby, I'm gonna follow you.
Right. Who on IG? I don't actually use IG though. I know it's terrible. I don't really use social media.
Yeah, yes, I'll be that news.
I'll be that news. Yeah, that's where I actually produce content. Well, I haven't the last week, 10 days, because Zelle's been on vacation. Sort of my co-host has been on vacation. But yeah, I do produce content on I'll Be That News. That's.
All right, fair enough. So might catch y'all guys later. Might do something random in the morning, but you know what? It might be just on debunking Andrew Tate's lies in the morning. So I'll do that. So you have a good one. Thank y'all. Have a God bless and good night.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.